Oh yeah, don't worry. I know how it works. Could you send me the link though? Oh, thank you. Perfect. Yeah, my girlfriend wants to watch. Oh right, I should probably get that up as well. Hold on. Oh right, I should probably let me configure my second screen real quick.
Hello, hello. I think I hear myself like 4 times right now because I have stream open. 1 second. Okay, I think that's good now. Can everyone in chat hear me? Or also, can everyone see me and everything? Been a while. Yay! Hi, everyone. Okay. What's the best way to do this? Because I have my chat over here, my camera's over here. So just remember, guys, when I'm looking to the right, I'm looking at you guys. Okay, very good. Can you hear my friend, by the way? The Australian noise. Wait, hold on. They might not be able to hear you. I have everything else off.
Uh-oh.
But can you? Okay, just me.
Oh
Okay,
no.
can they try say something again?
Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and just let me know if he's quiet or too loud or anything.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, excellent. Finally,
Quite
fixing up the
low.
audio has paid off.
Okay. Well, if sound sounds weird, just keep letting us know, and I'll keep adjusting it.
Yep, got chat open and ready.
Yep. Okay.
Everything's looking good.
Okay. Seems good now. Oh, I should probably put you in the title. Sorry, 1 second.
That would be nice. I'm just the voice in your head.
Yeah. The Australian voice in my head.
Eat more steak.
What's the most Australian thing that you can say?
Put a shrimp on the barbie, mate.
Yeah, that's very Australian. Are you? Oh wait, are you Day by Day with 257 subscribers?
No, that's not me. Well, actually, that is me, but that's a different channel.
Okay. So you're Day by Day with 54 subscribers.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
That's the
okay.
One Piece channel.
At Day by Day.
Call
Okay,
them
okay.
prawns. Actually, we
Yes.
call them kunaks and marins in Australian. We don't call them prawns or shrimp, which is
Unax and
crazy.
Marins.
Yeah.
That's never heard that before. I've heard the most of the weird slang. Like you guys call McDonald's Maccas and stuff.
Macca's.
Yeah.
Do a Macca's run. Go down to the servo. Actually, that's a good thing. Good question. Do you know what a servo is?
Servo. Well, it's a mechanical thing.
Yeah, it's a gas station, as they
Oh,
say in
really?
America.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's definitely not what I was thinking of, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the place that I'm from, we have places like Margaret River and Pemberton, and we call them Pemby and Margie, respectively.
Mm. Wow. That's fun. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess oh, sorry, hold on. I have message sounds on my computer. Okay, that should be good now. Okay, it's been a while. From China? Welcome.
Whoa.
I don't think I've had anyone from China before. I appreciate you. I've never been to China, but I have lots of friends from China. I've taken I did like a year of Duolingo before I gave up during like the pandemic and stuff because my ex-girlfriend was Chinese. So I could speak like a little bit, but not confidently in front of like 100 people.
Seattle as well.
Yeah, Seattle. Where is everyone watching from? We have a little bit of time before the live stream starts, so we'll say hi to everyone, get reaccustomed because it's been a while since I've streamed and made content and whatnot, and then maybe put in some predictions for the championship before we get into it. Been nice coming back. I see some names that I recognize. I saw Stilts was in my AMA. Oftentimes see him on Twitter and whatnot. Appreciate you guys. McKellen, of course. See him a lot. Very appreciated for people returning and for people new. Hawaii.
Whoa. There's a
Hawaii,
lot more
Ontario.
variety here.
Yeah, oh, yo, dude, there's a Perth guy. That's your friend.
Yeah. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah. And so for people who don't know, I think that it's in the stream title now. I'm with a Australian guy from Perth, who my basically main testing partner at the moment. I'm getting into the rhythm of being a full-time content creator, so I haven't been able to do all too much yet, but very cool. Singapore, New Zealand. I wish I could go to New Zealand. I want to do the Lord of the Rings run around the country to just look like, oh my god, it's the mountain.
Yeah, I haven't been there either, actually. You'd
Mm.
think most Australians have, but everyone I think just goes to Japan these days rather than New Zealand,
Mm,
ironically.
interesting. Yeah, I've been to Australia once. I went to Cairns, and that was nice.
Hey, I don't
Yeah.
think I've been to Cairns? Is
Oh,
that
it's
we say
I'm
cons, but that could be wrong.
cons. I mean it's your language. It's
True, true, true.
in Japan it's Keonz, so I just like directly translated that.
Interesting. No, but
Yeah.
it's really because even in Australia, from different places we call things
Mm,
different names, which is quite
mm,
interesting.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching the stream. DJ Tengen, if you do fall asleep, make sure to fall asleep with the stream running, so all the ads run and everything too. Yeah, that's cool. F Sakura, is Black Jesus Burgess still bad? I think so. I still don't run it. I don't think I'll ever run it. I think that it's bad, but I think that that's the minority opinion.
I do get
Yeah.
the theory about why you run it, but I tend to also agree that I feel like in situations where you're winning with Black Burgess, it's a win more card because they've been unable to remove a 4-cost 5k from your field for like 7 turns.
Yeah. No, it's like when it works amazingly. So I think it's just one of those things that feels really good. So you end up putting in by default, but it's just a question of necessity. And in my opinion, it's not necessary for the most part. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's true that it is good against like Lucy, for example. But Lucy's play rate's rather low.
That is very true.
Mhm.
Being a 5 cost as well actually is a pretty good cost ratio. Otherwise, Lucy could start teching in Booth Burst again to always bounce it.
That's true. Yeah, but I think that's fair. Yeah, 5 cost is big. Yeah, it's good in some matchups, but I think for the most part it's win more. And for a card that doesn't have trigger, eh, you know, especially
Yeah,
for a card that you want to play like on curve, so therefore you always wanted to like add it in at like 4 copies or something. It's a big deck building commitment.
I mean, hey, at least there's counter.
Yeah, yeah, it has counter, which is nice, but 1,000 counter when every deck's hitting you for 6,000 feels somewhat bad.
Very true.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, it seems though I have the stream right up here, and it was going to start in about 30 minutes, but that has been pushed back by 20 minutes. So seems like we're going to be chilling here for about 50 minutes, which is not my intention, but I guess that's what we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think it should be fine.
Mhm.
We can take in some questions, do a
Yeah.
nice little podcast style interaction with the chat.
Mhm. Ooh, who do you think is going to be the 6th leader?
Okay, so me personally, because they're choosing to hide it, I think it needs to be something from the current manga. So I'm thinking either Gunko or maybe Rocks or maybe one of the God Knights. I think
Mm.
it has to be.
Yeah, I feel like it is a bit early for Rocks, in my opinion, because I feel like it's supposed to be the Elbaf set, not the God Valley set, and they could do like an entire set on God Valley if they wanted to. Um,
Hmm.
like, I mean, I think honestly that would be a great set. Maybe a little bit late for next anniversary, but just randomly, like OP19 or something, you just have young Rayleigh, young Roger, Rocks. Yeah, those are all the
Garp.
people that come to mind. Yeah, Garp. You could have like another EMA round of EMA buffs. Thank you. um,
It
maybe
could
a
be a
Saturn
second
leader.
emu leader. That would be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's possible though, just because they did end up hiding it. Uh, because it's blue though, or assuming that it's mono blue, because that's the only one that hasn't been shown, and the leak said that it was mono blue. I would have expected it to be Gunko, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah, my money is either on Gunko or Rocks. Personally, maybe Shamrock if they want to do like a mirror to Shanks,
Mhm.
especially since Shamrock only got revealed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. No, Shamrock would be great. I think he's really cool. If they do
Or it's
mono
just
blue
Frankie.
emu, yeah. Yeah, no, I think like it was OP13 or OP09. They made a random Robin leader. I think it was OP13. No, no, no. It must be OP09. Yeah.
It was 9.
Where yeah, yeah. It's like everything felt in theme with all of the Yonko, and then you just and Robin. Yeah, no, that was OP09. Um, yeah.
Let's go, Frankie time.
Oof. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading your name. Der Noob von something. Um, I tried to figure out multi-streaming like right before the stream, but I realized that I wouldn't have that much time to figure it out. So maybe next time that there's a stream, I'll try multi-streaming. I also, because I've never streamed on Twitch before, don't have affiliate yet. So who knows? Maybe I'll do like a random Slay the Spire stream on Twitch to get everything sorted out so that I can do these bigger streams multi. But right now, couldn't figure it out in time, so we're on we're on YouTube, and hopefully for now it works.
I, for one, would love to see you tackle a roguelike deck builder, especially considering the deck building video, seeing how you
Mhm.
can identify
Oh.
in a completely new environment how to build a deck.
Yes. So I haven't played much Slay the Spire, but I played it a little bit this morning. Like I just haven't had time because I was doing it full time. And I was playing Slay the Spire 2 this morning just because I mean, why not, Oh, she's pulling up the wrong it's on the wrong desktop. How do I move this to my other desktop? But I think I won 4 out of 5 runs that I played this morning. But it's like very low ascension, so it's like still really easy. But I just get the cards that work together, and then they go hard.
That does make sense.
Yeah. I think people can hear Slay the Spire sounds, but they can't see it. I don't know how to move this to my other monitor. Oh, wait,
Oh,
figured it out.
MD Hugo. Gungo should be red-blue, heterochromia. Hell yeah. That is actually such a good idea. Wait, I
Mm,
actually hope it's not Gunko now. That would be a really cool idea, especially for doing like a God Valley slash
yeah.
flashback set at some time in the future.
It would be cool if it was like blue-black, though, just because I need emo buffs. But yeah, let me... Hold on. I got Slay the Spire up on my screen. So I still don't know what all of these cards do, to be honest. So like a lot of these builds are really jank. Um, but I had this like insane run this morning where I had a bunch of Rocket Punch, where it becomes 0 cost if I've created a status card. I have Rocket Punch, and the only card that I have that makes a status card, I believe, was Boost Away, which just gives me 9 block and gives me a dazed. But I do Boost Away, make my Rocket Punches 0. I draw 2 cards, deal 14 damage. And then when I use like a Boost Away again, for example, it becomes 0 even in my discard pile and in my draw pile and whatnot because of the way that card works. And what was it called again? Like all for one or something? Oh, there it is. All for one brings back all of my 0 cost cards to my hand. So I just like every single turn 70 block and like 200 damage, just spamming every card in my hand. That was cool. I lost this one, unfortunately. Before that, I played the Ironclad. I don't remember this. Oh, I tried doing Strike? I hate Strike. That was kind of stupid, but Hellraiser made that work because I just drew infinite cards because I found things like Scrawl. I just drew a million cards and just played a bunch of strikes for free. Necrobinder, I have no idea what I'm doing with this. I thought there'd be more cards like Unleash, but there just weren't. So I tried so hard to make this work, but it's a low ascension, so it's pretty easy. These ones, I don't even remember at this point, but I did like a couple in a row. And then you could see before then, I hadn't played for like 4 months or 3 months or something. So been a while since I've been able to sit down and like try playing a game, but I won most of the runs that I played, but it's still like very low ascension, so nothing too special. Still, Slay the Spire, cool game.
Those are a lot of words.
Yeah.
I know very little about that game.
Yeah, no,
But it sounds fun.
if you know Slay the Spire, then it makes sense, I would imagine. Because I really have only started playing the game. Like I played it a little bit when it came out and a little bit this morning. That's about it.
Very, very understandable.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's easy to get into, yeah, sounds really fun.
Mhm. Mhm. Sorry, I feel like I missed a lot of questions, but Akun
Oh,
was
wait,
asking
yeah.
about Kuzan and Loki. It really depends how slow the meta is. Like, if you can, it also has to be extra regulations, so that means that there's things like Red Rock that exist as well. But if the meta is very, very slow, then like maybe you could pull it off. But like 10 cost Kuzan's always been one of those dream cards that everyone hopes that it works, and it just never does. So I don't have very much hope for it. But like, I'm sure that they'll give us solid cards for Black Luffy to make that card make sense.
Yeah, I feel very similarly, honestly. I really, really like the idea. And we saw some similar ideas going around with Sakazuki and the Celestial Dragon combination by bringing everything down with the Saint. Oh dear. Saint. Oh
I
dear, I
wasn't
can't
listening.
remember his name. But the 5 cost Celestial Dragon that basically has the same effect as Kuzan if your entire field
Oh,
is Celestial Dragons.
I it was Mule's-Guard or Rosward. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, I think it was Roswad, but
Yeah, Don
I feel like this is a bit of
Quixote's.
a
Yeah.
yeah, a bit of a similar situation where I'm not sure if you can pull off the combo, but assuming you can, it's incredibly strong.
Yeah. Like, if you can pull off that combo, it's, like, probably one of the strongest combos that you can pull off, honestly. Pulling it off might be a little bit difficult, though, especially, like, in extra format, though. You'll have 10 Kaskuzan into Ice Age into Loki, which basically just is a full board wipe. So I'm sure that you can make it work, but yeah. Yeah, and it does seem like the stream is a little bit delayed, which is why we're just chilling here. But I'll keep trying to answer some questions here and there. But yeah, I think as Gunnett just mentioned, what deck is winning today in this OP16 with no start deck format, in your opinion?
A very good question. If I had to guess, I would say that Anel probably has a very good chance. I with no bias, I think a lot of people are moving to Goofy at the moment, which I think puts Anel in a pretty good spot. Rosinante as well. But I think it'll really come down to how much Nami is present.
Yeah. I mean, Nami and Teach, but Green and Blue Luffy is very popular, and also randomly Black Yamato is still very popular in Japan. So if you don't have to worry about those matchups, then NL does very well. I think that like people are disrespecting Teach a little bit too much now. Um, I don't
I
think that
do
means that
agree.
he'll win. I just think that a lot of people are going to like get bodied by Teach because they're expecting that his player is going to be lower. Green Blue Luffy's in a good spot. Trying to think. If there's like a random cope deck that might be able to like break into the top cut, it might be, in my opinion, Red Black Colby. I don't know if anyone would play that, but I think it's better than people
Ooh.
think. Um,
If I had to put my money on a
yeah,
random cope deck, I would say Black Crocodile is really underrepresented right now.
mhm, yeah.
I really think that it has like really decent matchups. Earlier in metas, it's been really held out by Mihawk with a really strong mid-wide board, which could generally shut it down. But at the moment, I feel like Black Crocodile has a really like vast net of favorable matchups outside of like specifically Goofy.
mm, yeah. Oh, actually, Karagata is a pretty good choice too, honestly. Um, yeah, no, I think. Oh, yeah, Red Black Colby did get 11th in Swiss at Germany yesterday. I think I saw that.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so Colby seems decent. Karagata, great matchup into Goofy. I think Goofy's running like everywhere right now. The one issue is Nami, and I think Nami's still very popular. Um, but I mean, Colby into Nami's also a bad matchup, so it's tricky. Um, I think the deck with the highest chance of winning in Japan is usually NL, just because the good NL players have a big gap between them and the bad NL players. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if like Roshinante, for example, randomly did well.
I really hope Rosie does well. It's my favorite deck at the moment, outside of like playing professionally with Anel. All my spare time has been going into playing Rosie and the new starter deck stuff. It's just so fun.
Sorry.
Joyboy OP16, I feel like Shanks has the cards to be able to go far in these events. I just think it depends on Nami representation. I tend to agree with that, but I think the other issue Shanks has is beating itself. Uh, Generally, it has historically been really inconsistent, and when it can see its curve, it's definitely arguably up there with some of the best decks in the entire game right now. But the issue is seeing that curve for 11 games in a row, which is unfortunately extremely unlikely with the current builds that are available.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is that hold on, I've changed one thing here. Okay. The one issue that I have with Shanks is that I think one of the big reasons to bring Shanks is he has a very good Teach matchup, and not only is Teach's play rate rather low, but also that matchup's not necessarily that hard winning for Shanks. I think it's kind of just like whoever gets second is more advantageous as well. So I feel like generally there's better decks to bring than Shanks, in my opinion. Even like factoring in consistency, I feel like Shanks with that 5 cost Ben Beckman is able to do a lot of like really cool things and like weave in searchers a lot better than he did before. But even if he finds his stuff, I haven't felt too threatened from it in my testing. So, I mean, I'm kind of low on the deck, but I mean, I've seen like 3 people in chat already talk about it. So, maybe I just don't know something.
I feel like it just represents one of the kind of, how would I put this? the apex of a strategy of playing a big guy every turn in such a way that the opponent needs to have answers, which while a lot of decks at the moment are doing a lot of random bullshit go with random triggers with playing their entire hand like Goofy, Shanks is pretty much the strongest at just playing a guy, having a stick on the board, and then just punching the opponent with it. And sometimes it's way more than enough
Mm,
for just to deal with all these other, which I think is really funny and makes a lot of people really like just gel with the deck.
mhm. Yeah, I think, let me try to pull up the stats from the last championship, because I think that there was some Shanks in that at the very least. Believe it's in here. Miyagi Championship. Okay, this was the play rate of the Miyagi Championship, just in terms of pure spread. We had 15% NL, 13%. Oh, this is a little bit different from what I remember. Maybe I was thinking of a different championship. 15% NL, 13% Teach, 11% Black Yamato, which is not what you usually see in the West. 10% Nami and 10% Green Blue Luffy, with a 5% representation of Shanks. So generally, the meta is just these 5 decks and how well do you do against them. I think that since this Miyagi Championship, Green Blue Luffy's share has become a lot higher in Japan. There are less people playing Teach because Green Blue Luffy's just been running around not only bodying Teach, but also bodying Nami. So I think that just in general, what's going to end up happening, at least for my prediction for this championship, is that this, which last championship was relatively close in terms of spread between all 5 of these decks, will start to skew more towards NL and Green Blue Luffy. And in that case, NL ends up winning out more. But I think that a Teach with a lucky bracket, assuming that Yamato comes down a little bit and you dodge a couple of the Luffys, you have a very good spread all around into like basically all of these top decks. If you don't include some like random lower play rate decks like Red, Blue, Lucy, and whatnot. So I don't know. How do you think the meta is going to maybe evolve? Can you see my stream by the way, with the play rates and whatnot?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Do you have any
So
opinions on how this might change from last championship to this championship?
I'm very curious if Ace is going to be there at all at this point in time. I feel like a lot of the people that love Ace, that were playing Red Blue Ace for the love of the game, have moved to Red Ace, which is kind of establishing
Mm,
itself as a really powerful mid-range deck at the moment. I'd be curious to see if the red green Luffy representation also increases a little bit. But I think a lot of people are just generally holding out until the starter decks arrive with the new
mhm.
powerful stage for the deck.
Yeah,
I also agree with what you're saying about Goofy and Teach, and I do think Enel will continue to be the most represented deck as well. If
yeah.
you had to pick any deck that's not listed here that you think is going to be an up and comer, what do you think would be that deck?
That's not listed here. Karugara.
Or in the
Um,
others?
yeah, yeah. No, I think that Karugara, like maybe people just don't know how devastating of a matchup that is for Green Blue Luffy, but I think that's maybe one of Green Blue Luffy's worst matchups in the entire game. And that deck does well against Teach, it does well against Goofy, and it does well into Enel if you can manage to go first. The only matchup that you really, really don't want to hit is Blue Yellow Nami. And I mean, the more that people are trying to play these new decks, the less that people are going to feel encouraged to bring Blue Yonami, unless they think that Blue Yonami beats Green Blue Luffy. So, I mean, I think that Karagara will probably have a higher play rate than last time, but I'm not. I wouldn't put my money on him actually making top cut.
Right. Interesting, interesting.
Mm.
I just saw a comment. Apparently, I'm standing a little bit staticky.
Yeah, every now and
Um,
then you like kind of blur out a little bit, but it's like half a second.
uh-oh. Okay, I'll see if I can
Mm.
do something about that.
Yeah. I keep seeing questions thinking that I'll get back to them and I miss out on them. So if I miss some of your questions, you can retype them, just not to a spamming level, and then hopefully I see it the next time.
I have identified the problem. My Ethernet cord is not plugged into the router, so I am on Wi-Fi, which is causing a little bit of shoddy connection.
Okay.
I will take a few minutes to fix that, just because we're in the pre-stream right now,
Okay.
and I will be back very shortly if you want to take some time, answer some questions.
Mhm.
Thank you for letting me know about that.
Yep, sounds good. I'll see you in a bit. Moriarty, Teach Guide should be coming in like the next couple of days. I was like super busy with all of the stuff that I was doing before going full time that I didn't have much time to write that. So unfortunately got quite delayed. I'm sorry about that, but it should be out relatively soon. I'm finishing writing up like the last couple of matchups. Then I just do like a couple of checks and then it should be good to go. But it should be coming out soon. I understand it's like very late. My apologies for that. But it's a big guide though. So I hope that if you do decide to pick it up, that you enjoy it. So other questions. Thank you. Ross. I'm gonna call you Ross. I hope the stream goes well as well. Rotation. Currently, I think rotation hasn't done all too much because the block 1 cards generally have been power crept. The main difference between rotation and the current format is red rock and blue purple Luffy cards, basically. So like 9-cost Mihawk and Thunder Bagua, for example. But not a huge difference currently, but I think that that'll change with OP17 because OP17 is bringing back the old Yonko, which means red Newgate with, you have the OP02, OP03 support. You have green Shanks, which we don't have any green red hair pirate stuff, so that'll be an entirely new package. We have purple Kaido, which has the OP01 and the start deck support, as well as some EB support. So interested to see how well that deck's going to do within the meta, and Yell Linding, of course, with the start deck and OP03 support as well. So I think that we'll probably start to see a bigger difference in the extra format once we actually, get to that hurdle. But until OP17, I don't think we'll have that much of a difference. It's just, can my deck run Red Rock or not, for the most part. Yeah. Hobby Hobby does like okay into NL for the most part because you have power reduction. You could hit into the opponent's active characters and stuff. It's not like an amazing matchup. It does fine into Goofy. It does fine into Teach. And it just does bad into Nami. It's just like an all around above average deck, I would think. Yeah. Akuma, thank you. I hope I'm saying your name right because it's a Japanese word. Akuma03, thank you very much. Sadly, I must go. Thank you again for the amazing content. I appreciate it very much. I hope you have a good night as well, wherever you may be. I may have missed your message before if you said where you were before, but thank you very much. I understand this is a very bad time zone, especially for people in NA. But what can you do?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
That should have fixed the issue.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I hear it again. I just tend to like accept those things.
Yeah, I'll do everything I can, obviously, but sometimes internet is internet, and
Yeah.
Australia is infamous for its absolutely dreadful internet.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Japan's internet's pretty good, but my internet's not great. So every now and then my stream will drop. But as long as you guys wait for like 30 seconds, I'll be back. Yeah. I think that Crocodile is quite good in this meta. I think that it's quite underrepresented, but I also think that it's like a very weird playstyle. It's similar to Red Green Luffy in the fact that if you if you're really good at Red Green Luffy, you're extremely good at Red Green Luffy, but those skills don't necessarily always transfer from other decks. So you can be a very good Red Green Luffy player that's not. I mean, I think that they transfer the other way, where you can be a good red green Luffy player and be good at other decks. But if you're good at other decks, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good red green Luffy player. And I think that the same applies to Black Crocodile, where the skill set for that deck is very weird. So even if that deck's strong, I feel like very few people actually choose to bring it over some other decks that have a little bit more of a conventional playstyle.
I feel like that's a really good point, especially since, unlike before, where people had no idea what the limit and potential of Crocodile was, these days, especially at a higher level, people have a much better idea of how to play around it, what cards it runs, and just generally, they are caught less off guard by it, which is generally one of the main advantages you have for picking something more unknown comparatively in the meta.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I do think that, like, that's one of the reasons why you might sometimes randomly see things like Kobe or Karagara pop up, or, like, even Roshinante in Japan's play rate's quite low, just because people aren't necessarily practicing into it. And, like, for example, like, touching upon one of the points you were talking about before, you're saying how, things like Red Ace and what was the other one? Red Green Luffy could come back into the meta a little bit, as they tend to evolve more around NL and Green Blue Luffy. And both of those matchups lose to Teach. So I think that although right now we're in a bad spot where Teach is kind of like being abused by Green Blue Luffy, I think that once the meta settles a bit more, and also once we get the start decks, which I also saw someone ask a question about, so maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. I think that it'll start to balance out the power, and then Teach will like properly claim the throne that he deserves as the top deck.
I can definitely see that happening. Though some of the targeted support that the starter decks are receiving just so happens to also devastate Teach,
Mhm.
especially Kuzan with the 3-cost smoker being able to just completely wipe away your 1 costs without even giving you the draw.
Yeah, two
But
draw, two
that
costs, but yeah.
oof, that being said, I do think Teach is definitely going to see a pretty heavy resurgence despite this, because it generally has a pretty good matchup into the decks that are getting that support anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that 2-cost smoker devastates Goofy a lot more than it devastates Teach, because Teach is very good at controlling the pace at which he puts out his 1-cost, so you can make it so that you only have one cost on the board at a time. But I think just in general, getting rid of it does still hurt. So for sure, even just getting rid of one is going to be painful. How do you feel about Kuzan's matchup spread? Because for people who don't know, Deba, who's currently and today going to be co-streaming the championship with me, is a hardcore Kuzan main. Has it like fully maxed out and everything. How do you
I
feel
am
about
a
that deck?
very, very, very big Kuzan fan. I'm still very curious about its matchup spread because on paper its spread is incredible. Having access to the smoker and just generally a whole bunch of new cards that just completely fix its game plan and the holes that it had before, on paper it makes it seem seemingly indestructible. Having the 6-cost Garp being able to play out Aramaki on a 6-don turn is almost on par with
Mm.
the level of value that you get from, let's say, Rosinante playing Rosian Law. But that being said, Kuzan still has the issue of having no real finisher. And it still has the issue of, outside of having a strong tempo and being able to play a lot of big guys, doesn't have the removal and just general interaction that we see almost every top tier deck has. So, in terms of its general power level, I think there's no doubt it's going to be a tier 1 deck, but I can also see the meta evolving into decks with high levels of interaction that might push down Kuzan a little bit rather than putting it into like the best deck in the format after a few weeks of adaptation, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I think the deck seems like it'll probably be in a good spot, but those weaknesses also do make a lot of sense. My biggest issue when I was trying that deck before was I had no idea how to close out games, so that makes a lot of sense. But thank you, Agenda Defender, very much for the $4 donation. Is a dollar Australian dollar?
I hope so. It was
I don't
just
know.
a $4.
Yeah. Thank you
I
very
do believe
much.
that's in Australian dollars.
I
Thank
appreciate it
you.
very, very much. Didn't know that you were. I assume that you're Australian, but I've seen you in my Discord and Twitter and everything. I didn't know you're Australian. Thank you very much for the $4. Do you think? Should I call you Deba or should I call you by your real name?
Probably just Deba for now.
Okay. I
I
think
don't
I
think I've officially in any other media used my real name, but if you accidentally use it, it's all good. It's like not an issue. But
okay.
just for now, Deba will be good.
I might have accidentally used it at some earlier point, but I
No,
think
no, no.
it's fine.
Like I said, it's not a problem. Just for
Yeah.
consistency's sake, until I like like officially say hello. My name is Simon. Just
Mhm. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, there we go. So,
Oh yeah,
so
it's not an issue. Is what
mhm.
I'm just trying to say. Like just for the sake of like, oh, who is this guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. But Johnson Long has a question. Do you think that 8 Scarp still gets played in Kazan?
That is an extremely good question. You are asking the right questions. I currently have it at 2, and I'm considering cutting it altogether. So if we look at Kai's deck building video,
Uh,
I think a really this is actually a prime example of a card that is really good at one point in time and then never again. So ACOS Garb on curve is amazing.
mm,
But in almost every other turn, a combination of the 6 cost Garb into Galdino or into Kobe or into a Sakazuki or Bluegrass generally feels a lot stronger. And I think it will depend a lot on the meta, but from the testing I've done, and it's a lot of testing, going wider on those turns and still being able to play out an 8 cost while playing a Mr. 3 Galdino just feels a lot stronger. But I
mm.
can definitely see a world where it goes either way.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, I mean, from my testing, I've generally felt like I've been fine just spamming out the 6 cost Scarp. Uh, but so like I felt inclined to get rid of it. But I think if you have the space, then you might as well add it just to have more copies of Garp.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think the deck's cool. That's probably the deck that I'm going to be playing in the start deck format, at least of the new start decks. I'll probably still be maining Teach at that time. But I do need to make my comeback video because last time I played Kazan, I went 0-5.
Oh dear. That's not good. Don't worry, we'll get those numbers up.
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to be at
Numbers.
any of the Flame Fruit 20s? I personally am going to Utrecht, and I might be going to Dallas, depending on a few personal things, which will be exciting. And then, yeah, I'm really excited for the Utrecht competition, though. We'll have to see how it goes.
Oh, sorry. I just didn't see that question. I thought that you made one up.
Oh no.
Because I know that like some streamers like Ludwig sometimes will like make up questions in chat to like start conversation. I was like, did he just do the
I've never
streamer thing?
considered that.
Yeah, it's like, uh, I'm just reading chat. It's like, how do you stay so handsome from Hirosho? He asks that like every single stream, but thankfully he's not here today, so I don't have to answer that. But yeah, no. I am also going to be at both the Utrecht and Dallas Flame Fruit. Before you get mad, I have something to show you guys. Okay, so I want to remind you that most of the people there are scalpers, and I didn't steal a seat from an American. But also, let me remind you. Oh, it's not focusing. Okay, I have an American passport, so I have the free pass. Okay, it's fine. I have a Japanese passport as well, so I'm okay. I'm allowed to play. I've also specifically asked for permission from the tournament
Saved.
organizer. Yeah. But yeah, so if you happen to be in the area, I'll be around as well. So say hi if you get the chance to. Yeah. But thank you. Wow, I'm getting so many donations. I appreciate you guys so much. Wu Train for $5. What are your thoughts on scalpers and prices being crazy? I mean, is water wet? Like, scalpers are pretty terrible. Did you see? Let me see if I can. Actually, I think I quote retweeted, so I can pull it up very quickly. 1 second, guys. So let me share the tea with you guys. Um, someone got arrested today for trying to win or trying to steal. I mean, it seems like he was trying to steal because he's getting arrested. Um, side event packs, which to be fair, in Japan, the side event packs can be worth like quite a bit. But it's getting bad to the point that like instead of trying to rob a convenience store, people are trying to rob cards.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, this was like a big story this morning where some guy got arrested for trying to steal the side event packs. And those side event packs, to be fair, the inside of them can be like anywhere from like 100, 200 to upwards of, if you get really lucky, like $600 inside of them. And you're guaranteed to get them because you just need to play 5 games or get 3 wins. So you're guaranteed to get one of those packs that makes a lot of money. So just if you can get a bunch of those packs, well, you don't need to work for a little while. So I mean, if you can pull off a successful heist, then it works out. But I mean, it didn't work out for this guy, it seems.
No, Japan is not the place I would try commit a crime as well,
Yeah,
personally.
no. Yeah,
I am
if
not.
you're gonna
Ugh.
yeah, if you're gonna steal cards or steal anything, don't steal in Japan because Japan 99% conviction rate. Terrible thing. Um, because it also means a lot of innocent people get convicted as well. But just don't commit a crime because they also generally. I mean, I've been safe. I've been here for 25 years, so like you know, not something you need to be permanently in fear of, but just just don't steal. But I mean, also it's like scalpers. The scalping, the scalper situation is insane. The scalper situation is crazy in Japan. The start decks and stuff are impossible to find in Japan just because, for example, it'll have a Luffy card in it, and that Luffy card inside of it, even though it's a $10 start deck, is going to be worth like $100. The newest red, green, Luffy, and Ace, because it's a very memorable manga scene, and it's Luffy and it's Ace, and obviously it's Oda art. I never saw that start decks on sale anywhere. That was just gone. And on secondary markets, I'd see the leader being listed, the leader, normal leader, not even the alt art leader, being listed for like $100. I've seen it. I think it's come down a little bit, but I've seen it as high as like $150, $200. So terrible thing, but not terrible is Billy Giles pie. Giles, 3203. Thank you very much for the $5. Would you ever consider a shuffling guide?
Interesting.
Shuffling. I mean, I think that you just I can show you how I shuffle. Here's my quick shuffling guide. So you're gonna want to grab your entire deck here. Okay. Here's my deck, and it's not a very shuffleable deck because I have it double sleeved with over sleeves, and the over sleeves, they get a little bit old after a little while. Here's what you do, okay? If you do it very nicely and do like 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, then this order is actually going to reset after, I think like mathematically it's something like 7 times or something like that. It'll end up resetting the order, so then your cards end up going back to the same place, which is why you don't want to do this nicely. You just want to jam your deck somewhere so that it's like completely off center. Some of the cards get into 2 places at once and just brutalize your cards. This will make it random. Okay. And then if you pile shuffle, you end up making like a bunch of small piles. After you make your small piles, a lot of people just shove all the piles together. But what this does is just end up putting the cards back together where they were before. So if you pile shuffle, grab the piles individually and stack them on top of each other. But like that's all I can say for shuffling. Just don't do things that'll unrandomize it, and then they'll be randomized.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel
Mhm.
like you can definitely get really fancy with your shuffles as well. Like it's just generally like a hand coordination skill as well that you can improve over
Mhm.
time. But generally, I think the idea for me personally is 7 uneven cuts is mathematically what casinos used to do, and I believe is
Mhm.
mathematically like the best way to get a random distribution.
Yep. I just dropped a 1 to
Oh,
2 point
social
range.
norm. Wow, from the future. That's exactly what I said. Whoa.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and we also have the head judge, Dragonothika TCG, in the chat as well, or one of the head judges. Very high level judge in the One Piece card game. So if you guys say anything bad, he'll remember and then he'll find you at your next regional.
That's a really good point, actually. So, one of the ways that people used to cheat a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh is they would place the card that they didn't want to draw on top of the deck, and then imperfect shuffle cut 7 times, so that even after that, that card was still on top, and when the opponent cut it, it would never be in their starting hand. So, if you see your opponent, or not necessarily when you see your opponent doing anything, but just generally when you're cutting, it can be wise if you suspect any like foul play or like just want to be super safe. Cut the deck more than once. Do a triple cut or a quadruple cut. There is nothing wrong with that. You're not like violating any rules or showing any distrust in your opponent, but it's just generally a way that you can avoid some of those situations like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and obviously, as Dragonothika says, in Japan as well, you can't just pile shuffle because that's beyond easy to just stack your deck exactly the way you need it to. If you are going to shuffle your deck and you're going to pile shuffle, make sure to like also properly shuffle the cards. Yeah, I guess there's your shuffling guide.
Actually, if you include
Yeah.
like ways your opponent could cheat while shuffling, you could make a pretty cool, fun video on that.
Mhm. I think there's actually, so I don't know what it is, so I'd have to do research into it, but I think that there's a way if the opponent has only pile shuffled, and for example, if they have all of their four ofs together before they pile shuffle so that they spread them out, there's a way that you can shuffle that completely undoes a pile shuffle so that they draw all of their four ofs together. So like, I don't know what it is, but I've heard that it exists. But I mean, logically, it'd just be the reverse of whatever the pile shuffle is.
You
And then
simply
in that way,
repile shuffle.
yeah. Um, you just repile shuffle backwards or do a handstand so that they reverse. But once you do that, the opponent gets all of their cards back and they draw all of their four ofs together, then they're cooked. There's some funny ways that people try to cheat through shuffling, I guess, and like you need just to be careful of like marked sleeves, or like an extra inner sleeve on a card. This is like beyond shuffling. This is just like how to identify cheating. Yeah, just notice if the opponent has extra sleeves on certain cards, or even small things like if they have one of those wider sleeves. Especially, I've noticed with Dragon Shield, they're really wide sleeves, so you can shift the card to one side or the other. So if they have all of their cards shifted to one side, but randomly all their cards with trigger shifted to the other side, something's up. It's a kind of interesting topic, I guess. Didn't think I'd be able to talk about that much. Lots of weird things that can be done to make your deck illegal without most people noticing. Yeah, just be aware of how people can cheat so that you look out for them mainly. Oh my god, every single oh my god, wait, I'm sorry. Uh This I've been getting a couple of donations. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Dream Titan Games, respect the shuffling guide. Video may get views. Yeah, I mean, if I have more things to say, then might be something fun to talk about. I have more time to do that now. And also, Schwartz Ronak. Um, I feel like all the training I did using Sim really does not transfer to real life game. Did you ever experience something like this? What training routine would you recommend? So I have a sorry to plug my own channel. I have a video on how to practice, which is very old, so I imagine not very good. Um, I recommend doing physical. I can't even find it anymore. I have a video from like a year and a half ago on how to practice, but I recommend playing physically. I think that Sim is very good for getting like the base fundamentals of how to play a deck, and obviously figuring out like what's the general core of the deck that you need to buy. For example, if you don't have the cards on TCG Player or Card Market or whatnot. So you play Sim until you get an idea for how the deck fundamentally works, and then you want to move over to physical gameplay because, you know, the physical gameplay is not going to hold your hand anymore. Like, you need to remember that your cards have +1 cost on the opponent's turn for things like Teach. You need to properly do the sequences correctly, like opponent's attack, turn player order, then the other player's effects, and then all of the correct responses and everything. You need to get an understanding for that and feel comfortable, most importantly, playing physically. And then it'll start to transfer. But I definitely think that Sim alone, going straight into a physical game, is going to be very difficult to transfer. And you'll feel a lot more out of your depth than if you were practicing physically. Even if it's via webcam or something, I think using physical cards is quite important.
Yeah, just to build on that as well. I feel like playing with Sim basically brings up the same issue that a lot of people trying to get into games like Street Fighter also experience, is that unless you are positioning yourself mentally to actually be paying attention and taking notes and actually like mentally thinking out all your thought processes, it's really easy to fall into an autopilot. And that
Mm.
not only means that you're not really learning, it can actually reinforce some really negative behaviors, patterns in your play as well, which I feel like is something that you really need to be like conscious of. For me personally, when I'm using Sim, It's a little cringe, but I make sure that I say all my plays out loud and why I'm doing them if I'm trying to actively practice. Otherwise, I feel like it's just one of those brain off, you like just sit there, grab a snack, and you just kind of click buttons and you either win and feel good or you lose and feel bad. So I feel like you need to like specifically designate time on sim where you're trying to learn and when you're just trying to play one piece.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think for the most part, I try to play physically, but also I think that Japan there's just more of a physical trading card game culture as well. People don't use the sim as much in Japan. But yeah, I think especially think it was Dragonethiko that just said it in chat. A lot of people, because so many of the effects are automatic, forget to do them in real life. So you just need to build up that muscle memory. Especially, for example, one of the big things. Although sim, like if you have your don cards spread out like this, you can like right click them and then they like kind of shift down and you can kind of think like this. But that's kind of limiting. Your don cards, like I always have right now, is kind of looking around for my don cards because I wanted to make this example. But you always want to have your don cards as a way to count things, not just your own plays. Like I want to spread out my cards 1 1 2 to hit 7 7 7 or something, but also to figure out how the opponent's going to hit you as well. So you could use these just as an easy way to count. And when you're playing digitally, you're kind of just sitting there. And what ends up happening, as David said, is that you just end up going on autopilot. So that's the reason why I played absolutely 0 games of EMA on the sim, was because that deck, you need to know your deck order. You need to know what cards are in your trash. And because the sim, all of your cards get automatically shifted into one small trash pile, you can't spread out your trash like you can in a physical game, which I think is legal, which Dragon Athika will correct me. But in Japan, that's legal. You can just spread out your trash so that you can see everything that's in your trash. If you don't have full recollection of your deck and know exactly what's in your trash, then you're going to make mistakes playing EMA. And I never wanted to get into that autopilot mode, so I refuse to let myself play EMA on the sim ever. Might be a little bit extreme, though, to be fair. Um,
Yeah,
Someone was
yeah. No,
asking,
I
yeah.
actually. Oh, sorry.
Mm.
Please continue.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, but I think you need to sometimes restrict yourself to playing physically to actually be able to like uh prevent yourself from going autopilot. Someone was asking what the bottom right card is. This is from the ST08, the very first uh black Luffy start deck. This card's not very good though, so don't worry about it. Yeah. I was looking at the black crocodile cards before. Which ones do you think might be able to fit into the black crocodile deck when these are available?
So, off the top of my head, the new Miss All Sunday being able to KO your own characters is historically one of the most broken effects. We've seen Hakuba, which by all other means is a incredibly outdated, overrated card, being seen play in some builds just because it can KO your own character.
Mhm.
I feel like there's just some crazy effects. It basically doubles your leader ability for one
Yeah.
time. And for only 5 Don on like a decent statted body with counter, I feel like this will fundamentally change the speed at which Crocodile can play.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that a lot of the way that Crocodile used to play the game was that you played the 7 cost Missile Sunday for as long as you could, and then started chaining your crocodiles. And then the strong thing about playing the crocodiles is that you get the on play, and then you use your leader effect to KO it and play it twice to lock 2 things. But because this Missile Sunday exists, even after you play the first crocodile, you can still get the double stun with Missile Sunday. Where you go Missile Sunday into Mr. 2 plus X, and then you use your leader effect to KO the Bonclay, to play out the Missile Sunday, to then play out the crocodile, or to KO the crocodile, to play it out once more to get the double stun with crocodile while also drawing a card from Missile Sunday and crocodile. Lots of words, but yeah, I agree. This card, I think when people first saw these cards, a lot of people were talking about the Miss Golden Week the most, just as like a free way to rest basically any of the opponent's cards, which is nice, but also it only has a 1000 counter for a 1 cost 2000 power body. I was definitely looking at this Missile Sunday. I think it's pretty sick.
Yeah, so I think it's Miss Wednesday as well. Is
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that's the one I'm referring to. So, oh, nope, not that one. Hold on. It was
Or
one of
which
the
one?
other was it Miss Valentine? It was one of the lower cost cards. Sorry, it's been a while since I've viewed these ones personally.
Mhm.
So, I could see this card seeing play, to be honest. So at first, it seems relatively weak. Obviously, it's just a mediocre statted card that on KO returns a card, and you already have like Babe, which does this. But where I see this potentially working is as a way to fill out a curve when you just generally don't see pieces. I've seen in my experience a lot of times where Crocodile will have to completely skip their 4 or 3 Don turn because they just don't have very specifically bent them. So I think this card may potentially see play as just generally like a curve filler, depending on how the cards turn out. Don't quote me on that. I think there's a chance it doesn't. Like, it's definitely one of the weaker cards, but it just fills something that Crocodile literally does not have at this point in time. And it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on it yet. Just because it kind of reminds me of the 3-cost Jesus Burgess, where it's just like an on-curve tool that the opponent just doesn't really want to take out themselves, which is like okay. I just don't know if the deck really has that space because the deck already has a lot of good cards.
No, that's also very fair. My comparison to it was the Ladle lore, the new 4-cost lore, finding its way into Rosie. But I do think there is a good chance it also doesn't see play, but I just don't want to write it off completely just yet. Like, I feel like a few of these cards you can completely write off. I feel like there's a chance.
Honestly, this card's not terrible. Like, obviously you have Gem, which is a 2-draw 1 trash. For a blocker, this guy is just gives you 1 dong. But the deck generally struggled with like closing out the game a lot of the time, so it might not be bad. I don't know if it's good enough, just because you do have things like Mr. 1, Mr. 5 already. But I mean, all these cards are like almost good. Like Character Rush, this is just like a weird combination of the other Mr. 5 and Mr. 1. We'll see. How close are we to
I feel like the only like one that is definitely going to see play is Miss Old Sunday, but it'll be curious to see how the rest go.
Yep. Okay.
Ooh, it's starting.
It's starting. Yeah, okay. Thank you guys for keeping us company as the live stream ended up being delayed by 20 minutes. But
just to quickly address what a few people were saying about the live action cards. Historically, live action cards have had a promo or just a regular printing later down the line. So fingers crossed we'll all be able to play it. But it's time for the stream.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that the cards will be reprinted with like normal art at some point. They might even come before the live action stuff. I don't know. It depends on the release schedule for both sides of that. Yeah. We have Gavin. Yay.
Gavin?
Yeah. And I heard Gavin won a extra grand battle, like 2 in a row. 2 serials now. A Bandai employee stealing all of the prizing.
What?
We have no idea if there's going to be leaks today, but hopefully there are.
Leaks or reveals?
I mean, I think people just call reveals leaks. But yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Ooh. If you guys want to try to get on stream, you can use the hashtag #1pcs and try to show up on screen. Which, good luck typing that. Hold on. I'll type it once in chat. I'm not going to. Should I try to get on the stream?
Do it.
Oh, what would I even tweet?
Gavin's haircut. No. Maybe tweet about Linlin. Someone just said Linlin. I'd be very curious to see what Linlin does.
Yeah, but that's a yellow slop. Trying to think.
You never know.
I have nothing worthwhile saying. My words mean nothing, yet despite that, people are here to listen to them.
How about the black Yamato representation? I find that personally quite interesting.
I mean, I think we'll see it very soon. I think they always show the stats very early on in the stream. So we'll see how that shifts. Final predictions, though, it's very hard to predict like what the top 16 is going to be. But play rate wise, what do you think are going to be the top couple of decks in order? Whatever you think is like the right way to cut that off.
Okay, so I think Enel will be most represented. I think top 3 will also consist of Rosie and Goofy, and then I think after that there will be Black Yamato and Nami.
Sorry, I was not listening.
Enel, Rosie, Goofy, Nami, Yamato, Teach, in that order.
Really? I think Roshinante is not going to be that popular. I think it's going to be NL, Goofy, Teach, Nami. I forget like the other popular decks right now, but I think that it's going to be like generally around there. I do think that some of those other decks are going to fall off a bit, like Black Yamato. Yeah, if you guys have predictions in chat though, or maybe top 16 predictions hard. What decks do you think are going to be in the top 4? To you, Deba, as well as chat. Any surprise picks that you're looking for? Top 10?
Surprise
What's going on
picks?
here? Top 10, top 20?
Those are weird cutoffs.
Those are very weird cutoffs.
That's not base 64.
Mhm.
Okay, so if there was going to be something random in top 4... Oh, too late.
Oh. Well, this is play, right? So we had, I think I flipped, I was underrating Blue Nami, but I was almost there. We have Purple NL as the number 1 with 15%. Actually, sorry, the numbers are in English, so I'll just read the names. Purple NL, Blue Nami, Green Blue Luffy, Black Yellow Teach, and Red Blue Lucy has now come to 7.2%, followed by Purple Yellow Shinante and Black Yamato, who has dropped from a 10.6% in the last championship down to a 5.5% in this one. Still though, below that, not very far behind, we have Blue Yellow Hancock that's risen up significantly. That's probably one of the ones we should have talked about as a deck that could come up, considering the fact that it got 2nd place in the last championship. And after that, the deck that we were talking about before, Red Shanks at 4.1%.
Wow, we also have some ace copers still hanging on. I really respect that.
Yeah. Oh, and
we have Buggy.
I mean, Buggy at the same play rate as Karugara. But still, Karugara, Black Crocodile, who were both not on the chart last time, are actually here, even if in a small percentage.
I called it! Wow! I'm very happy.
Yeah, there's like basically no red ace though, unfortunately. Yeah, I think the red ace that you think might be on this the screen, Shirokiba, is actually Red Shanks. Red ace has not really picked up that much in Japan yet, I think. If it does pick up, it would be because someone does well with it in a championship. But not going to happen this time because we have Green Blue Luffy as the Green Blue Luffy, Blue Yellow Nami, and Purple Yellow Roshinante all at 3 in the top 16. We have 2 Purple NLs, 2 Black Yellow Teaches, 1 Blue Yellow Hancock, 1 Black Crocodile, and 1 OP15 Yellow Luffy, the Egghead one with 6 life.
Interesting.
Oh, no.
I told you guys.
OP15. Oh. It's the one that has
Sky Island.
Yeah,
Bell
Sky
Luffy.
Island Luffy. Yeah, Bell Luffy. Yeah, there's the Black Crocodile.
I told you. You can't count out Rosinante, you can't count out Crocodile. Both of those decks, I feel, are just so slept on.
No, I think Roshinante is like consistently the highest conversion rate in every single Japanese championship. So what was your prediction? Oh, you said Purple Anna was going to end up winning, right? I said Purple Yellow Roshinante. So we'll see. At least we're both in the top cut.
And surprisingly, both our surprise picks got into top 64. Though unfortunately, it looks like Calgara just couldn't squeeze it out. Probably versed one too many Nami.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't see any Kobe either. So Hopi once again benched. But we will see. Yeah, there's no Swiss streamed in Japanese championships. It's just going to be the 4 top cut games, which are best of 1 single elimination. It's going to be Blue Yellow Nami against Black Yellow Teach. What? Is this really the matchup to choose? At least I can talk on it. But Seems like
Yeah.
I saw it from far away. I might be just making things up, but we have Black Yellow Teach in one corner. This leader, sure, people are very well versed in what it does, but still, for people who are not, Black Yellow leader. That on the opponent's turn, all of your characters gain +1 cost, and on the opponent's attack, you can trash one card to redirect one of the attacks into one of your Blackbeard Pirate type characters against Blue Yellow Nami. Blue Yellow Nami, just the bane of everyone's existence unless you're playing Black Yellow Teach. When life is removed, you can draw one card if you have 7 cards or less in your hand, and if you have one though attached to your leader, you can trash one card to make your leader 7,000 power for the entirety of the turn. Thoughts on this matchup?
This is an interesting matchup, I would say. On paper, it's very one-sided, but I have seen on multiple times that triggers and just the luck element in this matchup can generally swing it back towards a 50-50. This one is definitely a roll of the dice, in my opinion.
I don't even think that rolling the dice can save Nami in this matchup. It's going to be very brutal, but if Nami doesn't end up going second, it's going to be even worse. You know, for people asking about shuffling before, you saw that like crazy two-handed hypergeometric shuffling down there. That was an intense amount of movement for shuffling. Making sure that Teach... whoa, that's an interesting card in Teach's deck. There's the 7-cost Luffy.
Wait, what?
7-cost zombie Luffy we just saw in Teach's starting hand, but he decided to mulligan it.
Interesting. He just mulliganed a full of lead, right?
Yeah, it seemed like fine to take. I think I saw full lead. Maybe he's just really hard looking for things like Shiryu, but especially in this matchup, you're not necessarily trying to find a 4-drop because obviously Nami's leader is going to become 7,000 power. So curious to see what he's looking for, because he got rid of one of those weird tech cards and also the full lead. Nami, on the other hand, does seem to be keeping their starting hand, but also does seem to be going first, as you can tell by this little marker on the table that says that Nami is going to be going first. So going to be quite an uphill battle. Might be dreading it from the look on his face a little bit. Going to try the best that he can. Yeah, I am not a big fan of Zombie Luffy, but it takes so long to get to 20 cards in your trash, even with like every single thing that you can run, at least the standard cards that you can run to jump cards into trash.
I think maybe because he feels so comfortable on this matchup that he felt that he could go for a greedier mulligan. Maybe just a bit concerned about not seeing enough of the 1-drops in his opening hand and just establishing that very early ability to cycle and just generally control the flow of how much damage he's taking.
Yeah, but generally if you have full lead, you can fix that issue, but does not find it in his second starting hand. Does in fact have the 4-cost Burgess though, so that is going to be a very nice card. One of the only cards that you do actually look to play on the 4-long turn against Nami. And
Zeus invalidated.
Yeah, the Zeus doesn't get... Sorry, I say Zeus because it's the way that they say it in Japanese, but Zeus will not be able to get rid of that 4-cost Burgess. Does not have the 5-cost Nami, but does have the 7-cost Robin, as well as some other defensive options. Teach, on the other hand, finding the Black Vortex much earlier than you usually would like to, so probably will end up going to the trash pretty early on. I preferred his other starting hand that he decided to mulligan.
Yeah, me too. I noticed that he got the Black Vortex in both starting hands, so I'm very curious how many he's running. Either he got a little bit unlucky to see it early, or maybe he's running multiple, which is really interesting.
That is a fair point. In Japan, it does seem like a lot of people value that card a lot higher. I see some people running the 8-cost Zehahaha at only 1 copy, but running things like Black Vortex at 3, sometimes even 4 copies. I don't know where you find the time to use them, but I have seen that more often than not in Japan, so we'll see what the game plan is here, what those ratios are. So we already are thrown a bit off guard. Oh, never punished. Oh my god, those don't cards.
That is crazy. just
He's
casually
never
flexing several $1,000s onto the table while also finding full lead right off the top. Back some disrespect to the opponent.
Yep, and now his curve is completely set for the next couple of turns. Does send one 10-cost siege to the bottom, but because you see it in your first search, you're not all too disappointed because that will eventually come back up.
Wow,
Yeah.
this is everything you could have asked for and more.
Yeah, now this is the best starting hand that you could possibly get. Nami, just going for the default play. You don't usually have too much to play on this turn. Oh, he shouldn't draw that card yet. But yeah. Okay, Teach is going to use the trigger to just get the extra draw, just cycling to try to find that early top end. In this match especially, you're just trying to cycle through deck to find all of your 10-cost Teaches and whatnot, so it makes sense to use those. Don't value the 2k as much as you value finding all of your cards, which, looking at his hand, not only does he have his perfect curve up to 8 Dong, he also has 2 Shiryu, which means that he does have a target to place into his life with that Shiryu on play as well, should he choose to.
Absolutely crazy. That's pretty much exactly what you want. Okay, just throwing the full letter across the screen. That Shiryu off the other Shiryu is just crazy. Being able to go +1 in hand in a very tempo focused matchup is just crazy good.
Yeah, and I think I may be mistaken, but I do know this Nami's name. They were a Rebecca player back in OP04. So unless it's someone with the exact same name, this was a Rebecca player from OP04, which I don't remember which championship, but he ended up getting, I believe, 2nd place, losing to Rebecca in the finals with a 10-cost Kazan build. I may be mistaken with a different blue-black Rebecca player, but I know my blue-black Rebecca players very well. Coming back to the live stream after a very long time, but fighting one of his worst matchups.
Yeah, and basically what we're seeing is an unfavorable matchup versus the highest possible roll in existence. I
Yeah.
personally am rooting for Nami in this situation, which is a very rare thing to say. Always root for the underdog. But even if he plays perfectly, even if he high rolls every trigger, he is in for the fight of his life. I'm very curious to see how he's going to navigate this.
Not even getting the 5-cost Nami on this turn. That's one of the ways that you can try to get a little bit of tempo on the board by just making the opponent peel 1 life and forcing them to counter that second attack, lest they go down to 1 life very early on. Does not find the 5-cost Nami, therefore forced to play down the Marco. He's just going to take the free block because he has the chance to right now. And yeah, does go for the Marco though. I believe that's only going to be 6,000 power currently. Does decide to counter it with 1k. Just trying to squeeze out resources from Nami because you don't want to let that body go too early on.
Absolutely. So far, pretty standard play. Choosing not to put the Shiryu in life, instead going for the guaranteed value of being able to draw a card and play out one of your weenies from trash with the Devon. Also, you have everything you need, pretty much. There's no reason to dig deeper. Obviously, you need to see a 10-cost each, hopefully sooner rather than later, but even if you miss it, you have a second 8-cost to play on curve anyway, so you're really chilling.
Yeah, actually, this is a somewhat interesting turn. So basically, your options right now are the 5-cost Nami or the 7-cost Robin. The opponent actually went back to 3 life by playing down that Devon. It's one of the benefits of putting Devon into your life over Shiryu is that if the opponent plays the 5-cost Nami, you're getting back a 2k instead of a counterless card. So if he goes for the 5-cost Nami now, it's definitely going to be a much more aggressive plan from Nami, but I think that one of the big things that's disincentivizing that is that there's a Vasco shot on the board, and I believe one more in the trash. So although generally I would like the Nami play, I think that the 7-cost Robin play is going to end up being what he ends up going for, just due to the fact that there's all these Vasco shots already in play.
And choosing to save the Burgess here, I think, is a very good idea. You generally want to see it live into the late game to get as much value as possible, and while it's rested, it basically turns your leader into a pseudo 6k leader, which I think is smart.
Yeah, does end up going for that Nami play, so is trying to... Yeah. Oh, does immediately use the Vasco shot. I don't know if I would have used it on that attack. I probably would have preferred to just throw that into the dot queue and save the Vasco shot for later. But the Teach already doing a couple of things differently from what I would have done. I also would have put the Shiryu in my life there as well, because it further incentivizes a person to put out Nami when you have so many Vasco shots in play. But seems like he's not caring all too much about these Vasco shots, instead just playing the standard game plan as if the Nami played the 7-cost Robin. But not the case this time, still decides to redirect the Vasco shot, which would in most instances not have that much value in this matchup, but right now does.
And now he's forced to make a difficult decision with this full LED, whether he wants a 2K or he wants to replace the Vasco shot that he just used.
Yeah.
Which he could have been an easy decision and could have been completely avoided if he chose to use the Dock Q instead.
Yeah, no, if he left the Vasco shot on the board, then this entire board from Nami is completely unthreatening. But because that Vasco shot's not there, he can choose to leave up the Marco active, for example, just as a blocker to stem some bleeding. But because that Dakyu's on the board, which isn't going to do really anything in this matchup, because Nami does not run very many 1-costs, or if at all, honestly. Just going to stand there menacingly, as Teach presumably is just going to play down that 8-cost Teach.
Yeah, and the 8-cost Teach on curve here is just incredibly strong. Basically bringing you back to 3 life again, technically enabling a second Nami, even though it wasn't played on curve, and building an incredibly strong tempo that in the next like 2 or so turns will just be way too much for Nami's board to keep up with, especially since you have 2 Borsalinos in hand, being able to recover life even if you decide to KO multiple Robins, avoiding any sort of unblockable or cheesy strategies to sneak out a win by the Nami.
Teach also just getting like every single trigger that he needs. Like, one of the issues with getting rid of that Vasco shot there is that you don't really have that many timings to reestablish him if you start to chain things like that 10-cost Teach. But by being able to put another Devon into the trash with that search now seeing all 4 Devons, whether it's through searches or through physical draws, manages to find the low odds, puts another Devon into life, and is going to be able to just recur those 1-drops infinitely to just absorb all the damage that Nami's going to try to output.
Yeah, this is just crazy lucky. Like, it's interesting to see. Interesting.
Not going to go for the life heal. Is just trying to spread out board. Has 5 life left. So it's probably going to be 1 Dolan leader and then another 4-cost Marco.
It's a very interesting route. I don't think I've seen this route in the West from a Nami player, especially in this matchup. Choosing to forego going into a more tempo-focused Robin into Moria playstyle, instead trying to play a lot of smaller bodies that retain value even through destruction.
Yeah, I mean, also decides to bring out the Van Augur. I do understand this if you're trying to clear the opponent's smaller board. I think that this makes sense in this matchup. You don't want to be overrun by these small hits, especially when you have things like that 8-cost Moria trigger to also worry about as well. So getting rid of the opponent's board little by little. If you make it so that the only characters on the opponent's board are 7-cost or higher, then that Van Augur does end up having a lot more value. But the fact that Nami, played that Hogback first indicates that she's going to play another smaller character, so I wouldn't have been mad at the Vasco shot either. But, still, Nami trying her best to spread out board, does not go for the 4-cost Marco, does instead go for the Perona to stop as much aggression as possible while spreading out the board.
No, I know for a fact that there is going to be a 10-cost Teach off that full alert, because this Teach player has seen everything they need exactly when they need it. Except this one time.
No, he forgot to put the Dong on his leader. So even though he doesn't have the 10-cost Teach on this turn, he has no Dong as leader. He just has 1 Dong active with nothing to use it on right now. So Teach, despite not having a 10-cost Teach, is basically going to be the same as if he did have it. Probably laughing to himself about that mistake. He's going to have to deal with this 5,000 power attack out of hand. Thankfully, though, the Burgess won't be able to attack, but that is a brutal mistake. Decided not to hit with the Nami to avoid some of those redirects, I imagine, but in doing so, forgot to attach that 1 Dong. Huge mistake in front of more people than you would like.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, right, that this happens to the best of us. no matter what. This is a high-stakes game in a lot of situations that are really easily avoidable or even considered like beginner mistakes, just with enough pressure can just happen to the best of us.
Yeah, and the teach made a mistake as well. Attached one dong to the teach and tried to swing with it, but forgot that it was stunned by the Perona. But he already attached that dong, so that dong is going to stay. So this is just a Mickey Mouse game right now. Takes out the 5-cost Nami and does get the 4-cost Maruko to come out onto the board. So yeah, this is one of the ways you could play with Teach, just to get rid of
Wow.
those smaller attacks, and then ignore the larger attacks or redirect them. But Nami trying to not let that happen, trying to get these smaller attacks to stick so that he actually has the smaller attacks in the way that Green Blue Luffy tries to close out the game, just chip away slowly at the opponent's resources. Because if you start to line up those 7-cost Robins and stuff, one 10-cost each stops an attack and blocks the other. It's just really, really bad. So I understand exactly what he's trying to do here. Does not want that Kikunojo trigger to come out, so is going to use the 8-cost event. Does not have the 10-cost teach though. And Kabu, shaking his head once more that he doesn't have the Dong on his leader. It's brutal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's such a Mickey Mouse game, but at least they look like they're having fun. There is a second Black Vortex though, so at least we know he runs 2 now.
And Kabu, probably expecting the 10-cost teach to invalidate the leader effect anyway, was playing 2 steps ahead. But unfortunately, the opponent, which has been top-decking their entire curve from the first turn, did not have the 10-cost teach, absolutely punishing in every possible way that mistake. It's so unfortunate to see.
No, but I mean, that trigger does give a little bit of life now. There's a lot of small attacks on the board, although Teach's board is just so massive. Nami, I mean, very low in life right now, but still does have some of the resources that he's looking for that will actually be able to help translate into a win. Goes for the 5k leader.
So we see the stacked, this is my time, I believe, in English coming out, which is allowing him to finally see the 10-cost teach. A turn too late, but still really strong. We'll probably see a redirect into the Augur this turn as well, essentially disabling both of these Peronas from attacking, or even the leader as well, which is just going to give so much value. So Gabe Tanumhihadarja. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna butcher that name. No Kiku trigger. So Zehahaha was used to add the life to hand, which in turn means that it cannot use its trigger ability as damage was not taken.
So just avoided, even though he didn't have the optimal Zehahaha target in that 10-cost teach, decide to use it anyways just to avoid the 4-cost Kikunojo from coming out, because that's a bit of a headache to deal with. Fortunately, some information that Nami ended up giving over with that 5-cost Nami on KO effect. But Nami trying her best with the attacks that she has. 5, 5, 5, 6 at the opponent's leader, and Teach's hand is getting significantly thinner. Uses the redirect
thin
into
as
the
Nami
Van
would
Augur.
like, though. Being able to replenish a card in hand with the on KO effect of Van Augur.
Yeah, actually, this isn't bad though. Attaches 3 Dong onto leader. Does still have 7 Dong up. Is going to be hitting for 5,000, but still just 1 extra attack. Is going to force Teach to either take 1 life or get rid of that Borsalino. Does get rid of the Borsalino though. 7 Dong plays down the Robin and is going to heal 1 while also drawing 1 card. So as long as he, I mean, if he can keep his board healthy, it's a big if, then Teach's resources are in fact getting whittled down. And remember, in Japan, this is not best of 3. You just need to win 1 game.
Yeah, the Teach, even though he has 3 cards in hand, I believe soon to be 4, as he enters the draw phase, is in a very demanding position, having access to both of the 10-cost Teaches. The first one here probably being used to negate Nami effect and the Marco, trading into the board, and then the following turn being used to negate the Robin and the leader, allowing him to clear the Robin without having to take his life to hand, which is just going to be so strong.
Yep.
And
interestingly, though, with the Hachinosu did get rid of one of the 10-cost teaches, so not expecting the game to go on that long. Uses the second 10-cost teach, negating the opponent's leader, even though it now has a Dong on it, and is just going to try to close out this game within the next 2 turns, essentially.
DJ Tenga and the Nami did not draw a card off the Robin, as they drew earlier when they attacked Teach, and that was the same time that he triggered the "This is my time."
Oh yeah, I believe it's called "This Is My Era" or "My Era Begins." My Era Begins, I think it is in the English official nomenclature. Whoa!
Let me
Whoa!
clarify that.
Oh my God! There's chance.
Whoa!
The one trigger that can get rid of Burgess, negate the Burgess, and KO one of the opponent's 5 costless characters. The 8 cost Teach shows who's the boss of the crew.
That is
Okay.
crazy. Literally the only way for Nami to deal with Burgess in a respectable way. Wow.
Respectable, quote unquote. No, yeah, I mean, Teach, who had extremely powerful triggers in the early game, is now suddenly caught off guard as the big Burgess, who was at 10,000 power at this point, is suddenly just not a threat anymore. I mean, I think Teach decided not to go for life after this point, redirected the attacks into the board, identifying that there may not be a way to close out the game if, for example, the opponent has something like double Borsalino. So refocuses the attack to try to take out the opponent's board and decides to take a longer game. But if you take these longer games, you really wish you had a 10 cost Teach. So still, I would have preferred not to get rid of that 10 cost Teach with the full lead the last turn, but decides to do so.
Yeah, I personally like the line I said earlier. I feel like getting rid of that second 10 cost Teach, especially when so early into the game you bottom decked the third one, puts you in a really dodgy situation right now where the opponent having the access to the mid-range bodies, including the Kikunoju that you are fully aware of, can pretty easily start to swarm you.
Yeah. Oh, he's thinking about going for the attack with Marco. Very brave. Goes for the 6k attack, and the opponent now is forced to either redirect this or take it. Does
It
take it.
comes back! Oh
Oh
no!
my God! No!
We are trigger gaming.
Sorry, I'm
The
rooting
worst
for Nami
possible
because it's
thing
such
has
a bad
occurred.
matchup, but no, that's terrible. Oh.
You see, he chose not to negate and kill the Marco because he just knew he was going to trigger another 8-cost Teach from life. How could I have not seen this coming?
That's so tragic. He's deciding, seems not to go for the 7 cost Robin's 8,000 power attack. Would immediately get redirected into one of the opponent's characters, but would still get 1 card of his hand out of his hand. And when Teach only has 2 cards in hand, I mean, from the Nami's perspective, you have to assume that one of those cards is the 10 cost Teach. So it would be a pretty decent gamble, but decides
And he
not to go
top
for
decks
it.
it again. Again.
Hey, but at the very least, Nami is at 3 life right now, has 7 cards in hand, I believe 8 cards in hand, may not lose on this turn, so as long as Nami doesn't lose on this turn, there's a world where she might be able to win, but that brutal trigger from the 8 cost Teach to KO, negate and KO the 4 cost Marco is going to be a pretty devastating shift of events in this game.
The Teach giveth and the Teach taketh right back the lead and the reprieve that Nami was given.
Yeah.
This is going to be a brutal turn.
Interesting though. Teach deciding not to use the 10 cost Teach first.
I think that's not a bad idea. I think there is a very good chance he uses it more as a finisher the turn after, instead planning to poke and survive while establishing another large body this turn.
Yeah, I think that either option would work. I think that the actual answer is to just not get rid of your 10 cost Teach the turn before, so you could play 2 in a row, and that would just 100% close out the game. But
okay, yes.
I think that regardless, you should be able to win next turn if you played on 10 cost Teach, lock the opponent's leader, forcing them to use way more resources than they want to, while also stunning the 7 cost Robin. Because Nami didn't really establish too much board last turn, was able to stall very well with that Galdino Borsalino double Italian combo, but maybe triggers.
Yeah.
Going to be enough?
So there's that last Teach. So now we know that Teach has seen their entire deck.
Yep. Which means that we're not going to see another Teach for the entire game, should it go on longer than 1 more turn.
And Social Norm 2000, why'd he let Nami go? So, oh wait, why did he let Nami go?
Go to 7. Use leader effect.
Oh, because he doesn't want to end the game this
Ooh, wait.
turn, and
He got rid of it
Ooh.
again. At that point, you just
he
play the
he ain't
10
about
cost
that
teach.
life.
Yeah, so just trying to close out the game with the board, which to be fair, most likely will be able to. But decides not to play the 10 cost each the turn before, which makes defending a little bit easier on Nami's side and gives her 1 extra attack on this turn.
Pila Pika, can
So
someone explain why the KO and markers matters? Because it allows you to draw 2 cards, and in a game like this where every card matters, getting a free card is just crazy powerful.
yeah, so it's not only just that you get the on KO effect, which draws you 2 card, but also just having the attacker is really important because not only is it an extra attacker for Nami, but also it's an extra attack that can be absorbed by one of Teach's characters if they decide they can't close out the game. So they'll, as you've seen the game go on, Teach has been methodically taking out Nami's board, and he's been avoiding taking out that 4-cost Marco for as long as possible. If that Marco were to stay on the board for 1 extra turn, that'd be 1 extra hit and also absorb something like an 8,000 power attack from Shiryu. But because he got that trigger, he just does not have to worry about not only the trigger effect, not only the attack, but also about redirecting an attack into it. So just a huge net positive for Teach. But I mean, can't complain all too much because Nami also was able to avoid the Burgess incident as well. Yes,
Yeah,
1
we are just
8-cost Teach
seeing
is
so
stunned.
much back and forth with these triggers.
Yeah, the Teach is not playing the way that I would play. I'll say that. I think this game should be over by now if he was just playing out his 10-cost Teaches rather than the 8-cost Teaches, but is just going to keep healing up, trying to get those good triggers in. Only has 4 cards left in hand, does not have the blocker anymore, but does still have the leader effect redirect, which is going to probably be the victim of My Era Begins in his hand.
I fully agree with you there. The Nami is doing some pretty intense math right now. Basically trying to, I'm guessing he's playing around Zehahaha, seeing exactly how much he can counter up this next big turn and seeing if he can survive or if he's forced to go for the dodgiest lethal in his life.
Yeah, I mean, Pila Pika, so if, for example, the Tish decided not to take out the opponent's board and just decided to ignore the Marco, which he's perfectly allowed to do because he has so much power on the board, then on this turn, if Nami has 1 extra 6,000 power character, 6,000 base power character on the board, then it makes a whole lot of difference if you're forced to go for lethal.
Okay, instead deciding to either take his luck or he's mathed out that he can survive this next following turn.
Does he have another Galdino
No.
Borsellino? He has
I
the Donut for
believe-
it. It's hard to see his hand.
I think
no
it might
idea.
be a Perona Borsellino stunning the... No, it can't stun the Shiryu. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. All those cards look the same to me for some reason from this far away. So we'll see what the play ends up being, but it does seem like Nami is going to be trying to play 1 extra turn.
My biggest fear here is that if he's forced into 7-cost Robin, there is just no chance. But we also see the Hiyori in hand. There might be some interesting trigger shenanigans. I can't quite see that last card in his hand. Perhaps he has something sneaky up his sleeve.
Okay, well there's an 8-cost Moria, a couple of 2Ks, 1Ks, a lot of counterless cards. Takes... Has he already... I think has not used his leader effect, right, to redirect?
No,
Pretty
not
sure.
yet, I believe.
Yeah.
But I was just answering some chat questions, so I did not quite see that. Oh no.
Yeah.
The worst case, he knows. If he does that, he loses.
He's really thinking about it. I don't know what the play is here, but I feel like you have to math out if it's possible to survive on this turn. And upon realizing that it's possible to survive, you have to think about playing this way. He's going to... Oh, this makes sense. Does he have... Oh no.
So
So Kabu just said, I messed up. He says, ah fuck, I messed
oh
up.
no!
What am I doing?
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh
Playing the
no!
Maria into his life with
Yeah.
Hiyori and then immediately having to play
Oh.
trash it with the
Yeah.
effect of Robin.
Oh, dude,
Oh
Yana.
no!
Yeah, no. The nice thing about Japan is that you can hear the person's microphone. The Nami player just said, "Ah, fuck, I messed up. What am I doing?" And
You
immediately
can
got rid of the
see
life
the
that he just added. Is going to go back to 2 life. Does not have that Moria trigger anymore. At least one that he's planted, and Teach is going to try to go for lethal here.
you can
At the
see the
very
exact
least.
moment his soul left his body.
Yeah, at the very least, Nami is going to go back to a 7,000 power leader here. But Teach so many attacks on board is probably not going to be possible without more 8 cost Moria triggers. But what's it going to be? The last life. He's thinking about it. How
Not a
many are
Maria.
there? It's
Oh
already ready.
no!
Ah, it's not going to be there. And in the end, no.
A tragic
Gets the last
loss.
attack through.
Oh, you hate to see it. Even for a Nami
Man.
player, you hate to
Yeah.
see it.
To be fair, for everyone calling Nami a low skill deck, this guy used to be one of the best blue-black Rebecca players, which is one of the hardest decks in the game. So I respect him. He decided to bring this deck because he thought it was the best, but unfortunately, several turns of choking, whether it's forgetting to put one dong on leader, or that last turn where he accidentally played the Hiyori before the 7-cost Robin, means that he's not going to be able to pick up this last game. Lots of small things if he tried to go for lethal that turn before, what could have happened if he had that one extra dong, if he had the correct sequencing, may have been different, but in the end, decides not to, or decides, not even decides, ends up playing in the wrong way, and that's going to be game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, hindsight is 2020. Having executed that combo correctly, there is a very good chance that the Nami could have lived, knowing that the one of Zehahaha was in trash, which we see in most Japanese lists, and knowing that the opponent had cycled through all of their teachers at that point in time, they would be free to trigger the Moria, which could have brought back a Zoro or a Mako, and potentially live that turn. But unfortunately, the pressure at this level is just immense, and even the best players make some terrible mistakes from time to time.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I actually didn't see the line to survive on that turn, but Kabu, I mean, he checked the opponent's trash the turn before, identified there were lots of teachers that were gone. There's only one teacher that he hadn't seen at that point. There's one on the board, 2 in his trash, 1 that was in circulation in the deck, which he didn't know where it was, went for the gamble that he wouldn't have it, and was trying to heal up 2 life with the Robin into plant the 8-cost Moria trigger to get out the 4-cost Marco, and that may have ended up being enough, depending on the amount of counter in his hand, if he had enough to be able to stop one of the attacks from either the leader or the 10-cost Teach in the end. But unfortunately, we never got to see if that outcome would come true, because he didn't get that 8-cost Moria trigger. Meaning that Teach, against all odds, questionably, in a 70-30 matchup, barely squeaks out the win.
Yeah, that was a very interesting game through and through. Both players making some mistakes, which is to be expected at such a stressful level of play. But yeah, Teach, in the end, obviously had a strategy that he was comfortable with, executing it, nearly falling prey to multiple angles from Nami, both potentially losing that previous turn if Nami had gone all in. And I think Nami would have survived if they had done that combo correctly, assuming that the Marco that they used was able to draw them into 1 or more 2Ks.
Yeah, I think I'll wait a little bit to see if we have any reveals. Maybe I can speed up a little bit in time. And then once we go into the break, maybe we can step back a little bit to see if it was possible to survive on that turn. Because if it was, then all the people in chat who are complaining that he should have just went for lethal, I mean, Teach with full lead on the board for the entire game, you have to assume that their entire deck or their entire hand is just full of 2Ks. So if Cupboard thinks that he has a better odd, or if he has better odds of winning by stalling for one extra turn, then that's the correct play in his opinion. And unfortunately, it didn't end up working out because he did end up mis-sequencing that. But we'll see later on if that ended up being the correct play or not.
Yeah,
Or if it would have
especially
been possible.
seeing Teach cycle out his 10 costs, knowing that he's probably removing all the bricks from his hand. He probably calculated the maximum lethal potential and just decided that it was not worth the risk.
Yeah, I perfectly understand why Nami tried to play it in that way. Was very, very close down to the wire at the end. Fortunately, was not enough in the end. Played to his outs, just assuming that the opponent had enough counter in hand, trying to be as defensive as possible to try to close out the game the turn after that, but was not meant to be today.
Yeah. So Kai, oh, never mind. I was going to say, why don't you take us what's showing on the screen right now? Since even though it's a little bit obvious, some of the non-Japanese speakers may be curious exactly what was being said, but too late. My bad.
I think this is just a Japan-only event, so I usually just kind of breeze over them. This is just like special events for new players where you're only allowed to play specific characters, you know, just like for fun, thematic events that usually have terrible pricing.
Except that one time it had the 10 cost shanks, the promo.
Yeah. It looks like we're not going to get any reveals in, at the very least, this top 16 match. So that means that we can go back a little bit. Okay, so what's the best way to bring this back? So the opponent has 6 dong, so this would be 11 and 12. If he had the Marco, then he absorbs one of these attacks, presumably, if he can, the 12. So he needs to defend in 11 out of hand with the cards that he has in his hand. Cannot see... Oh, he does have enough, doesn't he?
Because he has the Borsalino blocker already on the field
he's
as
7K.
well.
Yeah, he's 7K. He goes up to 12, and he would have been able to survive. And the opponent has to go for lethal. So if he didn't mess up the sequencing, he would have won.
That is incredibly unfortunate.
Yep. So basically, Nami's thinking on this turn is he looked at the opponent's trash, the board. He saw that there were 3 teaches in circulation. Assumed that the opponent's entire hand was full of counter because his assumption that Teach's assumption would be that Nami would have to go for lethal the turn before. So therefore, Teach, instead of trying to hold on to that 10 cost Teach to try to go for a game, the turn after that, decides to get rid of it for counter, picks up a 1k counter that we saw him pick up. From Nami's perspective, this can be any amount of counter. Could be a 2q2, 1 with the 4 cards in his hand, decides not to go for lethal, and does math out that if the opponent just doesn't have a 10 cost Teach, then he can actually win. And he was actually correct in that assumption. He just completely missed the order of that. So actually, I think that Nami made the correct play here. Just messed up the order of it. Very unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been so invested in a Nami player, but played very, very well. Showed that there is a higher skill ceiling to Nami than just playing the biggest mana curve thing, because he was actively refusing to do that for basically the entire game. Held on to that 8 cost Mori that's been sitting in his hand for most of the game to be able to plant into his life on that final turn, but just messed up the ordering in the end.
Yeah, and it does. It just goes to show that the triggers in this matchup are so volatile, and we even see that they're now playing Hiyori to capitalize on just how strong these triggers can be, especially the 8 cost Mori, and just turning a game around. It's just something that can go either way in the current meta, which is for good and for bad. It does make it very yellow focused.
Yeah, no, he mathed it out really well. But unfortunately, in the end, we just have to say it wasn't meant to be, because both players admittedly made a lot of mistakes that game. But, I mean, one thing to remember, this is We have no day 2s in Japan. It's just Swiss straight into top cut. So these people are playing. This is their 10th game of the day.
Wow. That is intense. I do like the Western system where Top Cut does get a little break overnight just to rehash so players are less likely to make these mistakes, but it really does just prove how brutal the Japanese system is in weeding out who is the single best player, not only in skill, not only in deck building, but in stamina to just overcome a mountain of opponents.
Yeah, that's too bad. We almost saw Nami flip what's a devastating matchup. It did take a lot of contribution from both players' sides, but Nami trying her best did make a couple of big mistakes, but got a couple of lucky triggers. But Teach as well, making a couple of big mistakes and also still getting a couple of lucky triggers. So, it's neither here nor there. And in the end, the One Piece card game isn't necessarily the culmination of your best plays, but the culmination of your mistakes. So that's going to be it for the top 16 match until we get into the top 8 match. Hopefully we'll get that relatively soon because that game went on rather long. So we might get it a little bit further, or a little bit faster than I would have expected it to.
Do we know if deck lists are available to these players?
There are no deck lists public for this tournament, or like for any Japanese tournament. Yeah. So people do not know what's in the opponent's deck list.
So F-Sakura's point about being giga punished by Zehaha is actually extremely relevant then. I guess Nami, knowing that, still took that risk based on how the opponent was playing, is my only thought. If they had another Zehaha, they would have used it earlier, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does seem like he only runs one, and he, at least as far as I could tell, I wasn't checking every single search, either didn't pick it up or only runs one and was running 2 Black Vortexes. So one of those scary things, if the game goes long, if the game goes long, then Teach doesn't have as much finishing power. But still, I mean, I will say, if Teach played that game normally, he should never lose that game. So like the correct player did end up winning, but it's unfortunate that Nami ended up winning. Or Nami ended up losing because it was so close in the end.
Yeah, so just with the 2 comments that have just come in, so the Nami chose to choose the route where they decided to try live instead of going for lethal is because they read the opponent's hand as having a strong amount of counter rather than Zehahaha. If they thought they had Zehaha in hand, they would have instead opted to try push for lethal, as unlikely as it would have been, as it would have been a guaranteed lethal either way. They made the read that the opponent was cycling their bricks to have enough counter, and made the appropriate play based on that read.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is all just a hand read at the end of the day, because if you end up just getting the read wrong, the opponent's just like, okay, I guess I win then, and then they just drop down the 8 cost haha into the 10 cost Teach, then you look really stupid. But if they don't have it, that's the angle that he was shooting for. And unfortunately, he was correct in his assumption, but just wasn't able to get there this time. Yeah. The thing is, Black Vortex...
still a great finish.
Yeah. The second... it does seem like we're already back in. Oops. We'll just talk about this now. Top 16, as we saw before, and we'll see the comparison to the top 4. Or top 8, sorry. There are 2 green blue Luffy left, and everything else is a 1 of. We have 1 blue yellow Nami, 1 blue yellow Hancock, 1 purple Enel, 1 purple yellow Roshinante, 1 black Crocodile, and 1 black yellow Teach still in the game.
People will say this and say that the meta is fair and balanced.
I mean, look, that's 7 different decks in the top 8. And importantly, Crocodile is still alive.
We have 2 whole decks that aren't yellow or blue.
Okay, that's... Yeah, that's fair.
No. I'm just poking fun. I'm just poking fun.
Okay, and speaking of yellow or blue, we have the culmination. Blue-yellow Hancock. A guy with hair that's on point today.
Do you think Double Grab Blade and Goofy is troll or more? I think it is valid, but it will depend purely on how you're reading the specific meta on that week, even. Oh, and Crocodile, let's go!
Okay,
My
I was
rogue
thinking
pick,
there's no way they
baby.
don't show it. Okay, it's going to be Crocodile versus Hancock. Hancock has received buffs in this last set with the, I think it's 5-cost Marigold and 4-cost Sanda Sonia. But I might be flipping those. Both blockers that can play themselves with a certain condition. Has made the deck a little bit more tanky alongside a new version of Hancock that's a lot more akin to Blue Yellow Nami in the way that it plays. This matchup used to be pretty hard winning for Crocodile, but Hancock is no longer the same deck, so I have actually no idea how this matchup is going to end up going.
It's so exciting. Being able to stack the blocker with your 4-cost blocker Hancock, and then play something like Borsalino to then put it into your life, plays essentially like the banned Rayquaza combo with Borsalino, but just a little bit weaker. You're adding a card to your hand instead of your life. But it just adds so much more defense to this deck. It's crazy.
Yeah, and an interesting starting hand does see all of those cards that you'd rather see in your life. In the starting hand of Hancock, I believe this is after Mulligan as well, so he's going to be stuck with this. But yeah, by the way, we should have done this in the first game. Chat, who's going to win? I want to do the thing that I see a bunch of Twitch streamers do. Spam, I mean, maybe not spam. Press 1 if you think Boa's going to win. Press 2 if you think that Crocodile's going to win. Or who you want to win. Doesn't really matter to me. Do Crocodile. Oh, it's kind of even. Okay. It's relatively
There we
even.
go. Whoa.
Yay.
Everyone's coming out of the lurking. Let's go.
All the people who've been laid back at 3 a.m. avoiding responsibilities, coming out to press a button. It's actually fairly even. So that'll be exciting. We have CBRBRBR saying that he would win instead. So it's one vote.
Gojo wins.
Yeah, we have Gojo on the sideline.
No, but you see, ground death, it negates the effect. So Gojo would in fact not win. But we're about to start off here.
Yeah, and this is going to be Boa Hancock going first in this matchup against Crocodile. I believe that you want to take second in this matchup, but I have no idea anymore with the new way that Boa tends to play this game.
Yeah, I can't say this is too much of my specialty, either of these decks. I do know that Crocodile, while generally being able to play either curve, does like picking second into some matchups, depending on the amount of searches they see. And if they can play Bentham, essentially cheating out an extra Don of value, getting that 5-cost out on a 4-Don turn.
Does have it in his starting hand, so going to be happy to see that. Don't know if he's going to use it immediately. A lot of the times as Crocodile, you want to hold on to that for when you actually want the payoff, because especially things like that Mr. 1 has a lot more value when the opponent actually has stuff on the board, but not going to be too eager to take out the opponent's board when it is Hancock. Okay, so...
The main combo is with the blocker, Mr. 5, I believe, just being able to cycle those cards and have a 6-cost blocker on his 4-Don turn. But
yeah, is just trying to cycle cards through his deck. Does also start to fill up his trash for that 7-cost Luffy that's in his hand right now. A little bit less surprising in Crocodile is a staple ever since OP16, I believe, in Crocodile. So we'll be filling up his trash. Definitely much easier to as Crocodile plays out the... Oh, and decides not to attack. So just does not want to deal with any triggers right now. Wants to develop board as much as possible before pulling that trigger. One thing that I want to mention, this Hancock, Nukesaku, I definitely know his name. He was definitely in some championship, but I do not remember which one.
I can't say the name rings a bell for me, unfortunately.
I've 100% seen him at some championship. Like my gut's telling me that he was a blue-yellow queen player, but that might be wrong. I have no idea. But yep, is going to play down that dung, attaching 1 Rested Dung to Hancock and swing for 7,000. Crocodile deciding not to counter that, goes down to 3 life relatively early on, but is just trying to find the pieces that he needs right now.
Hopefully he's looking to find one of his powerful 5 costs in trash this turn, using the Valentine to get there. Sees
Yep.
Babe, which is a valid option, but we'll see which one he chooses to add to his hand and which one he chooses to put in the trash.
Yeah, the ideal target in the early game for the Mr. 2 Anhyo effect would be the Mr. 5 gem, who is a blocker that draws 2 and trashes 1 if the opponent has a 0 cost, or if there is a 0 cost or 8 cost or higher on the board. Does not have it in his trash currently, picks up the Babe 2 hand. So, in my opinion, it's kind of looking like he's going to not use his leader effect once again and just try to slowly develop the board by playing down things like that, Babe. See what he ends up
I
going
can
for here.
definitely see the gem coming out here. Just being able to cycle more cards and having a blocker on the field to basically curve the pressure. But instead, we will see the Mr. 1 coming out, being able to rest the run.
Yeah, he's going for it. Yeah. Mr. 1 is able to attack into characters on the turn that he is played, and on play rest an opponent's character with 0 cost, and with that leader effect is going to go down to 0. So does get rid of that, does draw 1 extra card, taking out the opponent's board. Not something you see all too often against Hancock, but does it without much thought. Finally getting that Mr. 5
interesting
into trash.
Yeah, we'll see it come out next turn with the Miss All Sunday being able to bring it back, trigger the effect, and we see maybe the Crocodile is planning to go down life early and just establish lots of blockers.
Yeah, but interestingly, decides again not to attack with leader, so just wanted to get 1 poke damage in to test his luck, see if he would get a trigger, and decided the opponent didn't have a trigger, he doesn't want to test his luck any further, leaves his leader active, and slowly but surely expanding his board, while Hancock has not been able to because it was taken out by that Mr. 1.
So interesting. I wonder if Croc knows how long of a game he's in for with these new Sanda Sonia combos. We see basically all the pieces of the combo except the 4-cost Hancock in hand, which hopefully they will see access to soon. This is also a very awkward turn. Gorgon Sisters feels really bad to play by itself, especially if you have nothing else on the field. Being at 3 life means no Borsalina value, which is also probably something the Crocodile was considering when not attacking in that previous turn.
Yeah, that'd make a lot of sense. Crocodile just absolutely fearless, down to 1 life already on the 7-dong turn. Hancock with $5 just at her disposal may just end up playing down that Borsalino, but I think that the 4-cost Zoro isn't a bad option either to just get that guaranteed heal in. Also had his hand on that Marigold as well, maybe considering just putting out a blocker.
Playing out the Marigold guarantees that the opponent goes to 0 life on the next turn, because they will be forced to take their life to their hand from the Boa leader effect, which is probably what they were considering. That being said, look how many cards that Crocodile has in hand. That is crazy.
Yeah. So one of the things with Crocodile, he's exceptionally good at cycling cards, but the deck does not necessarily increase the amount of cards that he has in his hand. He's just very good at stopping the opponent's attacks. So once things like that 8-cost Crocodile come onto the board, the opponent's not going to be able to swing with a lot of the characters that are on the board. But it's not like a deck like Blue-Purple Luffy or Black Emu or something that just as the game goes on, there's going to be more and more cards. Black Crocodile, if you whittle him down enough, will eventually end up running out of cards. So is going to playing out that 7-cost Miss All Sunday with the search into the Mr. 2, that is 4-cost. This is one of the ways that you can increase your hand size. You play the Mr. 2, KO it with your lead effect to play out the Mr. 5, then you can start to increase your hand. But aside from this, your hand generally just keeps getting smaller and smaller as the game goes on. So just trying to find every card that he needs, and so far is able to find it.
Finds a 2K, and I think this Crocodile is just planning on eating this Perfume Femur to the face, ideally with a combination of Ground Death, which provides 4K counter, a 7K leader from Nightmare Luffy, and just a huge hand. No fear at all from this Crocodile. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, does go for that Mr. 5 that we were talking about just now to increase his hand size, the only way to do so. But, I mean, that Zoro being a Straw Hat and not a Kuja does mean that it is vulnerable to being taken out if the opponent decides to... I believe that's how that works? I don't remember if that was the thing that needed to be type locked.
So the types are Amazon Lily and Kuja Pirates that trigger the
Right.
effect of Boa Hancock Leader.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, Crocodile's board already massive, though, and Boa's not really being able to keep up right now, at least in terms of board. But if you look at life, it looks very good for Boa right now. One interesting thing, though, you did mention the Perfume Femur. I don't know if decks recently are running that card just because it's been a lot more slower. The old version of Boa Hancock would try to sort of use the triggers to swarm the board with these smaller bodies, especially things like the Gorgon Sisters, to try to take down the opponent's leader very swiftly with that Perfume Femur as a finisher. That combo has lost a lot of value within this meta, just due to things like, in general, yellow being able to heal infinitely with things like 5-cost Borsellino. Very rarely do they pass back the turn with 0 life, and also Teach being able to redirect attacks. I've seen a lot of decks taking out that Perfume Femur, so he just seems like he doesn't really care about that. Also doesn't care about how big his hand is because, breaking news, the 4-cost Pudding is in fact a banned card.
Yes, that is the elephant in the room. With Pudding gone, the Pudding plus Femur combo is no longer possible, and decks can just have like 20 cards in their hand to counter out of that Femur and essentially invalidate an entire turn. Alright, we see finally 5 life is too many, so the Crocodile is going on the offensive. Probably going to use 2 of the, or rather the same 8-cost Crocodile twice to negate all the opponent's attacks while having a blocker, so they can pretty easily start to like hack into this life.
Yeah, and actually, I think now that we're starting to see the plan come to fruition, it makes a lot of sense. Now that Crocodile's at 0 life, you can easily... Oh my god, the Teach again!
Teach is back!
The Teach again to get rid of the Mr. 4, also denying the on-kill effect to draw 1 card back to life. So, a little bit of bonus in Hancock's direction. But, yeah, back to my point, though. Now, even if Hancock were to trigger out something like Gorgon Sisters, it's not necessarily protected by a leader effect because Crocodile is already at 0 life, and you don't have these threats like Perfume Femur or 4-cost Pudding, obviously. So if you just take out the opponent's board and lock everything else with that 8-cost Crocodile, the opponent just doesn't have enough attacks to actually close out the game.
Exactly. Perfume Femur is the crux here.
Ooh, 8-cost Moria trigger to pull out the Dung. Does get 1 draw from the leader effect, and importantly pulls out a character that he's going to need to actually try to close out this game against, I don't even know how many cards, maybe 13 cards in Crocodile's hand.
And here we see another important piece in the Boa Hancock's hand of their new strategy of stacking the life and comboing with Borsellino. Now seeing the "you are the one that should disappear," being able to essentially, for the cost of discarding a card, give them an entire extra life, which can be even another trigger, such as an 8-cost Teach or another Kuja Pirate, which is just crazy offense and defense in one small package.
Yeah, and that 7-cost Luffy, which we saw glimpses of even in the first game with Teach, finally comes onto the board, and right now, because Boa Hancock's board is so small right now, only that 9-cost Hancock that's really a threat. That 7,000 power leader is very punishing to deal with.
Being a 7k leader, having 12 cards in hand and leaving 3 done open is just the worst combination of things you want to see from a mid-range deck with a leader effect that only works when your opponent has a life. Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, even, the threats that Boa Hancock usually holds, like that 9-cost Boa Hancock, are basically just a worse version of 8-cost Teach at this point, because there's no life left to peel.
Yeah, and the lack of Perfume Femur, this Crocodile is ready aura farming with just a post that says, "Come at me right now," and the Boa can't even come at him. It is just a really awkward position for the Boa right now.
And the worst thing here is that Boa, even if she has the Perfume Femur, obviously doesn't go through with those 3 don't active, but also on top of that, it's going to get so much worse from the next turn when all these characters are rested. The Crocodile takes out all but 2 characters, plays down the 8-cost Crocodile, locks 2 characters while his leader's 7,000 power. This is just perfect curve from Crocodile, and just no one saw it because he's the only one who knows how to play out this deck.
We even saw multiple times the Boa player having to read the Crocodile's card. He is out of his comfort zone right now. What an exciting game.
Yeah. I mean, Crocodile is such a joy to watch because, especially for me, I don't necessarily play aggro decks, but I love playing decks that choke the opponent out of their options. Crocodile is one of the best decks that can do this because he is the Sandman. He just completely drains all of the options that you have at your disposal with those sand powers. And as we're seeing right now, Hancock is trying her best to fill up that board with characters that can become attackers, identifying that this is one of the identifying that the 8-cost Crocodile is the way that he's going to try to close out the game. But
So what we're going to see here actually is a stacking combo where these cards are going to go back on the top of the deck and most likely be placed with either a Borsalino or a Zoro into the life to be able to trigger anything from the hand that the Boa Hancock wants. Which is very strong and very exciting. Of course, having so many options, you need to think carefully about what you're going to put on your life, or rather back on top of your deck at this point in time.
yeah, that 5-cost Nami, not a card that you saw in the old Hancock build, but has become a lot more popular because of things like that 5-cost Borsalino. So it does stack life, plays down the 5-cost Borsalino, and heals one more. Also, let me know, guys, if the audio levels are okay. I tried messing around with them a little bit. Let me know if they're still good or if they got worse. So, at the very least, Boa Hancock is not going to die yet, but doesn't feel necessarily that much closer to getting lethal.
Okay, identifying that he's got a lot of work to do, the Crocodile is going to start draining the hand slowly but steadily from the Hancock. First starting with the 2Ks, and then the 1Ks, and then the life.
Oh, chat's completely right here. I think that attached Dong to Zoro, which would not be able to because you have to attach that to a Kuja or Amazon Lily, I believe. I've not seen that card in a while, so I may be incorrect. But if chat is saying that, then it may be an illegal play that unfortunately no one seems to have caught up on. But at this point,
dear.
yeah, too hard to take back. But it does not seem like it's going to make a huge difference in this game. Does find that stacked Gorgon Sisters in life to try to find as much damage as possible because time is running out for Hancock right now.
This is going to be next turn is going to be brutal. We could see even up to 4 9K attacks in combination with another Borsalino, basically just being the master of offense and defense once again.
Yep. And finally, as we talked about, that 8-cost Crocodile coming down onto the board, stunning one character, leader effect, KOing the Crocodile to replay it, stun one more character, also gets the draw as well. Such a good card in this deck. Sad it doesn't have a manga parallel.
That is a shame, actually. Crocodile manga would have been probably the hypest manga from that entire set, but instead received the Ground Death event, SP event. I'm not sure what the official terminology is.
Yeah,
but
I do think those are just normal alt arts. The manga from that set was the 9-cost Mihawk, unfortunately. Missed the 50-50 on that.
So we just saw what the win condition the Boa might be playing towards is, which is a deck out. The Crocodile player having roughly 13 cards left in deck. Activating his effects, including the Crocodile, is going to reduce that every turn. So the Boa might just shift to stacking things like You're the Ones That Are Going to Disappear, 8-cost Moria, etc., and then just playing an infinite amount of Borsalinos until the Crocodile decks out.
Let me pull up Dung because now people are talking about this card. But one thing to note about the deck out, though, is that Crocodile can still KO without dropping cards into trash. So very difficult to actually deck out Crocodile without him making a mistake. But, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening in this game. The game is definitely not immune from mistakes.
So you're absolutely right there, but the activation and summon of the Crocodile character is a mandatory draw. So every time he wants to summon back... Oh, sorry.
Sorry. So the 4-cost Dung, it very much depends on the comma. On the Japanese text, the comma comes after Kuja Pirate. So It's a Kuja pirate, comma, leader or character. So it has to be a leader or character with the Kuja pirate type. If it said Kuja pirate leader, comma, or character, then you can attach it to a normal character. But at least from the Japanese text, I'm pretty certain that you have to attach it to a actual Kuja type leader or character, not one or the other. Once again, I could be wrong on this. I'm just reading the Japanese text. But unfortunately, I think that our judge in chat has disappeared.
It remains to be seen. Either way, the game state has progressed far past the point to fix it, unfortunately.
Yeah, not
So
a
we will
huge deal.
have to see.
If there's a judge in chat, let us know. I'm not a judge, obviously, but at least for the way that the Japanese text is worded, I'd believe that you'd only be able to attach it to a Kuja pirate type character. Okay, now we have the chat war going the other way, so I'll let chat deal with that. Yeah, but in the meantime, back to Crocodile's turn. I don't like the way that the Boa Hancock has put the Dong cards on top of their characters.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially since they've split it up. I wonder if they are counting or using that as a way to keep track of something, which could be possible considering this is a deck all about stacking your deck. Very interesting to see why they have chosen to do that.
Yeah. So what I believe the Crocodile is going for leader currently. It's hard to tell by just looking at the feed. But if he is going for leader here, I think it's because Hancock's board. Oh no, he's going for the board. Never mind. So yeah, goes for Nami first and then goes for leader. I feel like you could have done this in the other order because if you trigger out a character, then the opponent is forced to get rid of one of their characters because they have 5 on the board. Still goes for the Nami first. Yeah, and it is going to get one character right back, so kind of invalidated that Miss All Sunday hit the turn before. But I do think that he's setting up to just play down another Crocodile combo with his leader effect.
That is a little bit scary, though. That's another 3 cards out of deck, meaning he has only 3 turns left.
I mean, it's a way to play the game for certain. If you played in the West, you'll know the classic. I'm gonna think about my turn for 15 minutes and then play double Borsalino. The ultimate yellow combo.
I respect going for a deck out more than going for a timeout, though, personally. If I had to choose one, I feel like there's a lot more respect than one than the other.
Yeah, at the very least in Japan, you cannot go for a timeout because you just get a double loss. In Top Cut, it does end up coming down to certain criterias like life count, deck count, which Hancock is technically ahead on right now. But I don't think that either of these players are playing for that condition. It's just one of the byproducts of Crocodile is that you just get this massive trash very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Kai, I will need to duck away from the mic for 1 second, but I will continue answering questions in chat and be back in under a minute.
Yeah, sounds good. I will try my best to keep commentating this game. But right now, Nukesaku, thinking about that life, does end up picking it up, and that's going to be one of those new cards that we were talking about very early on. Marigold, 5-cost blocker for Hancock is going to be quite nice when you're trying to stall time as much as possible. Is currently a blocker because you have 2 or less life, and also because your leader is Boa Hancock, you do get that draw as well. Does actually have the Perfume Femur though. So interesting if he decides to just try to break through. Unfortunately, the higher power characters in that 9-cost Boa Hancock are going to be locked right now. So if he decides to go for that Perfume Femur combo with, of course, the Gorgon Sisters, it seems like it's going to be maximum 17,000 if my math isn't... Oh no, 16,000 because you can't attach the Perfume Femur to Zoro. So you just attack with the small characters you have, then try to break through the Perfume Femur if you try to go for lethal this turn. But we'll see if he actually manages to, or if he decides to go for that combo, or if he decides to stall the game even longer. Boa Hancock, a deck that used to just, try to close out the game, and if it doesn't work, then you tried your best. Now has a lot more survival potential with these new blockers, as well as all of the ridiculous triggers that the deck has. People running 8-cost Moria just for the trigger to play out a 4-cost, making this deck really, really tanky and annoying to take out the board. the very least, though, one side of that leader effect has not been relevant due to Crocodile taking all of his life very early on in this game. Still has a massive hand.
He has more cards in his hand than he does in his deck at this point in time, which is both amazing and terrifying.
Yeah. And how many cards are that in trash? I believe that was 30 cards in trash. So that Luffy should be at 10,000 power when he swings. And now Nikisaku trying to think of every single out right now if he needs to go for lethal on this turn. Trying to figure out how many ground deaths are in his trash. I believe he only saw one. So that active dome most certainly is going to be ground death. 28.
Absolutely.
Okay. So very close. One more leader effect and he'll get there. Or just countering a couple of attacks. Lethal still feels very far away with the amount of cards that are in Crocodile's hand, but he may be pushed around or pushed against a wall to the point that he has to go for it. We'll see what he ends up going for because we've seen some crazy yellow defensive plays in the past. Oh, sorry. I'm covering the timer. There's 7 minutes left. The issue is if I put myself in this corner, then I'm looking away from the game. But yeah. Time's still not an issue right now. Don't worry, guys. I'll mention it when we get closer. Right now, there are still 6.5 minutes on the clock. But once that starts to get down to 1 to 2, then we'll start to talk about what's going to happen in overtime, because overtime rules are a little bit different in Japan.
I would love to learn that as well, actually. Because in the events I played, it was a double game loss in the standard battles in Japan. So that'd be very good information for everyone.
I think generally people in Japan do not try to play for a deck out, especially someone like Nikisaku who does actually have a public online following. You can't really... I guess that's not entirely true. I've seen some well-known players go for some shady things, but I do think that he is trying to play out the game correctly, and he's checking the opponent's trash to see how many ground deaths he may have to try to calculate the likelihood of actually being able to go for lethal. Besides, far too unlikely on this turn, sets up one more 8-cost teach, which is importantly a warlord, which means that you will be able to try to go for that perfume femur, even if 2 of your characters are stunned by things like the 8-cost crocodile. So
perfume femur is here.
Yeah. And Crocodile not giving over any resources right now also means that there's no more blockers on the board. But trying his best to be as healthy as possible in terms of counter in hand, and Hancock trying her best to set up lethal, presumably on the next turn. Immediate 5k swing at the opponent's leader.
If I were the Crocodile, I would be looking to end this game now.
It is starting to get a little bit scary.
So we have 28 cards in trash, and we had 16 in hand earlier. So we would be looking at 6 cards left in deck, -1. There are 5 cards left in that Crocodile's deck right now.
I mean, deck out is definitely not going to happen, I think. Timeout, I don't think is going to happen either. Just,
absolutely. Yeah. But what that means is that the effect of the 8-cost Crocodile cannot be activated twice, or it's an instant loss. Meaning one of those boas is swinging next turn.
Interesting. Oh, yeah, are you forced to draw the card off of Crocodile's on-play effect?
You are forced.
Interesting. So that is one of those weird things that ends up happening when you get to these late-game scenarios.
So... even without the femur, there is going to be a huge split between one of those teaches and one of those Hancock next turn.
Yeah, and I mean, Hancock's still 2 life, and now all of Crocodile's characters are rested, so he needs to survive this next turn. But it's looking scarier and scarier. There's the Crocodile. 1 draw, and you said he's down to 4 cards now, I believe?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean... once again, though, he can choose just to not drop cards with his lead effect. Yeah. So, like,
you're
I think
absolutely right.
Yeah, no. I thought I was tripping for a second, but... so, is able to get that, has 2 cards left, means that he cannot draw any more cards, but...
wow.
Yeah, I mean... so, Yeah. Okay, I thought I was tripping for a second, but importantly,
Oh, I
Hancock
just did the
here.
math wrong.
Yeah, no, I was like,
Whoops.
am I being dumb here? No, but unfortunately, still one attack left on the board with a massive hand, 2 dong up, which from the Hancock's perspective has to be ground death with the way that he's played out this game. You can literally check his trash and figure out every single card in his hand and deck right now.
Wow. A Crocodile has so many cards in hand that if he threw his hand at his opponent, it would be lethal in a different way. That is just an immense defense from the Crocodile right now. We are going to see an amazing turn here. There is just so many different ways that both players can take this game. I am excited.
So yeah, I just did the math. He absolutely has enough counter in hand to protect against everything that Hancock would throw at him. And Hancock doesn't know that, but presumes that that has to be the case. So goes for the double Borsalino with, now I'll mention, 2 minutes left on the clock. Back to 3 life with 2 more blockers on the board. And just trying to get little bits of damage. And now, Crocodile, 1 card
It's go
in
time.
deck. I think we've reached the end of the line.
We will see the double ground death come out here. Both of those Borsalinos are going away. This is 6 swings and a dream versus 3 life, none of which have been stacked. This is going to be crazy. Come on, Crocodile.
So those 2 Borsalinos now out of the running. There are 3 life cards left for Hancock, and right now for Crocodile, 6 attacks on the board. So 3 need to be defended, and he does not have sufficient counter in hand to defend all of them, so will need to rely on triggers. But remember, this deck does run things like 8 cost Moria with 0 Thriller Bark targets, just purely to resummon things like that 4 cost Zoro. So we'll see. Does the Casino Curry echo true even in OP16?
This is going to be a crazy game.
There's so many random defensive triggers that Hancock can get, but Crocodile is forced to go for lethal on this turn. Is going to counter this first hit, identifying that it's going to be the cheapest one. That's 1 attack that is stopped. He needs to stop 2 more attacks, but he does not have the counter left in hand. Decides to go for 9k. I don't know if I would have went for an attack that big. I think I would have started 8 and just hoped the opponent didn't have it. But 9,
Here we go.
10 with Luffy. Next life, no trigger. 10. He's thinking about it. What is it?
Oh no.
It must... No, he doesn't have it. It's going to be 10 at leader, and Crocodile picks up the top 8 match and is going to be moving on to the top 4.
1 card left in deck. On the last turn, he avoided deck out, he avoided timeout, and clutched it with a precise victory.
Oh
Amazing.
my god. Yeah, and that was with, to be fair, you have extra turns, but about 30 seconds left on the timer. Does manage to find the win in the end on the last possible turn, because all Hancock has to do next turn would be just pass turn for them to win. Finds lethal in the end. Crocodile, to some people's dismay, as we did with the poll in the beginning of the match, does end up winning the game and moving on to the top 4. The People's Cope once again striking back.
I am here for every second of it. Crocodile, my goat, coming in when no one expected it. Wow, what a game.
Yeah. Oh. And I just went from the biggest blue-yellow fan to like the biggest blue-yellow hater. Desperately hoping for that Nami to win in the first game, and now hoping that Crocodile would be able to take down Hancock after all of the stalling that she was able to do that game, but does manage to find it in the end. But then you saw one of the big issues with Crocodile, though, in that game, is that this deck, very, very good at spreading out board quickly, very good at stopping the opponent's attacks, very, very bad at closing out the game, and got very scary at the end with all of those Borsalinos. But because there's no triggers in the end for Hancock, means that that is going to be game for Crocodile.
Yeah, I feel like one of the most difficult things with Crocodile is one of your best defensive tools in Ground Death is also basically your only finisher tool. And the balance of using them to survive versus using them to actually finish a hard game like that is really tight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess I'll explain what's on the screen right now. This is a flagship battle, so it's a Japan exclusive thing, but it's a 3v3 flagship battle. So that's two things that you guys don't have, unfortunately. But I'll be. Ooh, that's in Kyoto? We'll see. We have the extra grand battle, the large scale extra grand battle in Kyoto right around the same time in Japan. If I maybe get into that, then maybe I'll go for this 3v3 flagship battle as well. But this Boa Hancock, insanely expensive right now. This is more expensive than a couple of cereals right now. Ridiculous.
Yeah, going for the equivalent of about 5 grand USD on Kaitori, which is when you sell back to a store, not even to another player for reduced rates. An absolutely insanely expensive card, even compared to the top 64 Boa, which you can win at regionals right now.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought that Nami would be like the cash cow for Bandai in terms of like, this is the Charizard. You had things like Gengar, Nami back in the beginning when people were starting to scalp the game, but it does seem like Boa has somehow, some way become the coveted most waifu taxed character in One Piece when it comes to the card game.
It does fit her personality, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah.
That being said, we've also seen Ace have a massive rise in popularity in terms of collectors, which is really interesting. Maybe we will see Sabo next.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does not seem like we're going to be getting revealed this round either, which, at least to me, I have to be honest with you guys, although I do really like your retention, probably means we're not getting reveals today. So let's see when the next championship is, because I will be here for that as well.
Which is heresy. So we're going to have to see. I think a lot of Sabo players are not going to be happy with the changes because they wanted buffs to how they like to play Sabo. And I feel like a lot of aggro players will play the new Luffy instead. So we're definitely going to have to see.
The Luffy feels like it's missing something, at least from my limited testing with the deck. But yeah, I think that Sabo seems like it plays very differently from the way that it used to, which is a little bit unfortunate because that deck, I mean, I thought it was really cool before. You line up a couple of things with the 8-cost dragon into the 6-cost Sabo, and you just get these really big bodies. You also have that thing, the 8-cost dragon as well. Sometimes you're running basically just an 8-cost 10,000 power rush that also attaches Dong to your leader. Just these like really big bodies and like a more mid-range to control playstyle, which now with these new cards does seem like it's just like a big aggro machine. So I'm a little bit sad. I kind of prefer the way that Sabo used to play, but it doesn't mean that he's not strong though.
Absolutely. And just in response to the Cookie Mobster, real quick, it is a 5k merchant, but the thing is, with the 4-cost Karasu, bringing down your opponent's leader power is the only saving grace, which is something that no other 5k merchant can do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you should try the deck. Trust me, it's much stronger than you probably think it is.
That being said, I do not blame any Sabo players who choose to completely ignore the new playstyle. In fact, I'm not even sure if the new playstyle beats the old playstyle, but it does definitely have more legs than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for.
It's very fast, yeah. I mean, I think the main thing is these start decks, you're not always going to make the best deck out of these start decks, although you had things like Blue Doflamingo become the best deck because of the start deck ST17. And these start decks are just meant to help out for people who want to play the deck. And I think that Sabo is surprisingly one of the better decks of the start decks. Unfortunately, I see some people in chat talking about Katakuri. I don't think Katakuri is that great. I don't think that Red Nika is that great. I think that Kazan's very good. And I've not tested Mihawk, but just on paper, that deck seems very good.
I love how Zoro is just completely removed from the entire argument. His own structure deck was basically taken from him and given to his sensei. So unfortunate. But Kid actually in my testing was the only one that even after playing a lot of games, I feel like I still have no idea of the overall potential of the deck. I feel like people who enjoy one-tricking decks and finding like strategies and potential in a deck that other people won't see, that is the deck for you. kid is really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see in the end what ends up actually happening. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
think,
it's very early to tell.
especially as DJ Tengen has mentioned. Oh, hold on. We got top 4, which is Crocodile, Purple NL, Green, Blue Luffy, Blue, Yellow Nami. So somewhat expected top 4. Teach is now gone, but in his place, Black Crocodile. But yeah, I think Wano
My goat.
Mihawk seems pretty cool.
Wow, so this is the top 4 that everyone predicted. Nobody, well, except the crocodile. Outside of the crocodile, this is the top 3 is the top 3 definitely. I'm a little sad that Rosinante didn't quite make the cut, but just having to verse so many Goofy and so many Enel, it just couldn't push through. Unfortunately, it seems like.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of those cope decks not making it quite to the top. And still, we get another game of Crocodile. Another likely anxiety-inducing game.
My boy, let's go. Oh man, as someone who loves the deck but is not too proficient at it as a one trick, just seeing them go down so low in life is terrifying. Even though I'm sure they're in complete control, it is just so scary to see, like, being one turn away from default loss.
Yeah. And finally, one of the matchups that I'm sure people have been curious about, how does it actually do into the big bad right now, Green Blue Luffy? We're going to finally get the answer in this game. We saw how it did against more slower decks like that Boa Hancock, and now we will see what's going to happen in what's essentially the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, so we're going to see a lot of rush. I'm not sure if Crocodile can actually disrupt the let's go to the Navy headquarters setup, which is a little terrifying.
Yeah, you can technically, with things like the 8-cost Crocodile, stop it from attacking altogether, which means technically you're stopping 2 attacks, and then with your leader effect to KO your Crocodile to re-summon it, you'll stop 4 attacks. That doesn't mean that you're safe, though. So we're going to have to see how he ends up navigating this matchup. That 7-cost Luffy may also help out as well, just being a 7,000 power leader with very minimal effort. But, I mean, I can see this going either way. But I have faith in Crocodile. You know, you have things like the Mr. 1, 5-cost 6,000 that has Character Rush to be able to control the board a little bit. We'll have to see what ends up happening within this game.
So the issue with Zombie Luffy and Crocodile going to 7k is that the 2-cost Bonclay Beltham will copy the leader power and be an 8k for a 1-don commitment. And in order for Crocodile to remove it, they would need to use a full combo involving Mr. 1, which is very high commitment for a 2-cost character that is card neutral in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the strongest cards that that deck has access to, so we'll see how he ends up piloting this deck. There's a lot of unique things that can end up happening, but I wouldn't put it past Crocodile. You know, is also going to be going first in this matchup, which generally a lot of people think that Crocodile is a go second deck because of that Mr. 2 and 8-cost Crocodile, but a lot of times you're trying to establish things like the 7-cost Robin on curve, and that's much easier when you're going first. So I would imagine that he would have probably taken first in this matchup, and is going to try to power towards those cards that would help him control the board rather than playing out that 8-cost Crocodile.
Ooh, losing a ground death that early is not great, but seeing the gem on curve engrave means that the on curve Bentham will allow for a really easy advantage in the early game, which is good to see.
Yeah, well, he's just trying to fill up his trash like he did the game before. Thankfully, he does have a Searcher this time instead of the... Ooh, I don't remember what it's called. The mole one. But Luffy, with a fairly good start, not exactly perfect, doesn't have the double 2-drop, but does manage to play down 2 characters nonetheless.
Ooh, having to bottom deck a Galdino this early is also not great for the Goofy for those longer games.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
Crocodile.
as Cookie Mobster mentioned, that is also multiple patchworks dropping down into trash as well. So another defensive tool that is lost, unfortunately. So a little bit scary, but
Another ground death.
yeah, dropping lots of cards that could potentially be very crucial, but decides to pick up the 2K in the end, just prioritizing defense overall. Green Purple Luffy just, with one Adult attached to basically anything is able to hit for 6,000 power or higher, so those 2Ks do have a lot of value. But oh, sorry, I think that was played. My bad. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, that was played. So they just go straight to the trash, and one Dolanta leader is going to hit the opponent's leader. I do think, yeah, I was expecting this to probably be the way to play this, because if you decide to play it slower like you did against Boa Hancock, then the Luffy just has so much time to stall one turn to go for that Navy headquarters one more time. Whereas I think that probably the angle that you're trying to find as Crocodile is to pressure them to a point where they need to go for the Navy headquarters, but it has very low value due to the fact that the 8-cost Crocodile stuns it the turn before. So I imagine that Crocodile is going to be a little bit more aggressive in this matchup to try to maintain the board a little bit, but try to be more aggressive on the opponent's life to actually close out the game once the opponent's unable to close out the game with the Navy headquarters.
Yeah, this honestly could go either way. Losing the patchworks early is really rough. We're also seeing the ground death being a really strong finishing tool, also being gone. The trash is not stacking up in the favor of this Crocodile, and if he does not see a on-curve play next turn, he is going to be in for the fight of his life right now.
Does have the Mr. 2 in his hand, but does he have the payoff for that? He does have the Mr. 5 in trash at the very least, so we'll be able to summon out that card if he chooses to. But there
I
is
did
an
not see
argument,
that.
honestly. There is the argument that you want
Whoops.
to find things like the Mr. 1, though. If you have the Mr. 1 to rest opponent's characters, then you can pretty easily take out 2 characters on this turn, because you have that Miss Valentine still on the board that he chose not to use his leader effect on. So
Well, he
don't
will
know if he
have the
has it in
gamble. He
trash.
will be able to send the 2 off this later effect, potentially hitting it. Let's see.
Does look like he's setting up for it because he did minus cost the Crocodile. Is that it? I don't think he saw it. I couldn't see the
It
second
was, right?
card. It looked like it. I think that is it.
It
Yeah,
was. Let's
Okay.
go, Crocodile.
Okay, but we'll see. I have to say, not a huge Crocodile player in this set. So I think he's deciding right now if he wants the he decides not to go for board and just go for the resources and the blocker. Yeah. So
Interesting.
I think probably the idea here is that even if you play down that Crocodile and you end up swinging into the opponent's, what is it? Sorry, Mr. 1 into the opponent's Crocodile, you only end up getting 1 card, whereas this one, you get 1 extra card to your hand while also being a blocker, so that's technically a +2 compared to a +1 where you go for that Crocodile. I would imagine is the logic, and he's still, just by merit of having that Miss Valentine as well as a leader, will most likely be able to take out this Luffy if he wants to. He goes 6th leader, though.
This Crocodile knows something that I don't.
I think this is definitely that he is trying to find that aggressive angle to close out this game, basically around the same timing that Luffy's trying to close out the game.
It's very interesting. Very composed. I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing, but it's just so interesting to see. Taking his second life now. So we'll probably see maybe a buggy come down here from the Luffy, playing that combo, filling up his entire board, and basically threatening Navy headquarters if the Crocodile fails to remove 1 or 2 characters from pretty much any point onwards now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, like he does have 1 ground death in hand, so like it's not impossible to just stop a big lethal turn, especially since you have 3 life still. I don't know if Luffy really wants to use Navy headquarters this early on in the game, but it's already a full board of characters of differing names, so that Luffy going to be hitting for a lot of power early on. Does end up letting that attack through. Does get the search off of the life.
So just to clarify, what I mean is now that the board is full, that if the Crocodile fails to ever remove characters from this point onwards, the threat of Navy headquarters is always there, meaning Crocodile can no longer focus on a purely offensive angle purely at Luffy's life.
Yeah, and is still at 7 dong, so doesn't have access to that 8-cost Crocodile yet. But I think that, hypothetically, let's say that the Luffy doesn't go for it this turn and decides to wait one more turn, then that 8-cost Crocodile is going to do a lot of work in stopping some of the aggression from Luffy. If he had... Oh, he does have 2 Navy headquarters. But still, this insane card, the 5-cost Buggy into the 6-cost Prisoner of Impel down, it's going to stop that 5,000 power attack very easily. Crocodile, not much he can really do about that, though.
Removing that Bentham is a very high priority.
But I don't think he can. Because Luffy has so many cards in hand, this is just a very easy counter if he has a 2k.
I'm not sure it's worth giving 8k counter to keep that Bentham alive.
Well, I mean, but I think what you do is you just defend with the Miss Valentine, or defend the Miss Valentine, so you force the opponent into a decision where they have to decide if they want to rest that Mr. 5 or not.
Absolutely.
So,
but
if they end
what
up resting
we will
the Mr.
see...
5, you give it. If they don't, you know.
Absolutely. But with the Miss Valentine most likely coming down this turn on curve, we will see the play of Bentham into that Mr. 1, which can swing anyway. Which is where it gets a little dodgy. Regardless of if this is defended now, the same amount of swings will be going into the board and will need to be defended with the same amount of counter.
Yeah. Okay, he's thinking about it. Does have the 2k in hand? Yeah, that's the Prisoner of Impel down in hand, thinking about if he wants to counter that attack. But does end up letting it through. So probably Crocodile just now, plays down the Luffy. Is he? I don't think he's at 20 quite yet. Oh, no, it looks like he is. Yeah, he's at 21 cards in trash, meaning that his leader is now 7k very, very early on. So now he's Blue Yellow Nami gaming.
Come on, Crocodile. I believe in you.
This is very fast.
Yeah, I wonder if that was something he was considering with his early plays, because I didn't even catch that he was going that fast into his own trash.
I mean, he had 2 Miss Valentines, and he also had the trigger that, I don't know what it's called in English, and that card would be able to drop cards.
I believe it's disappointed.
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 It's basically what it means in Japanese too.
Zonden.
Yeah.
So, starting with a 7k swing. Basically trying to do what he can to just start burning resources. We don't want to see a repeat of last game where the Crocodile has 16 cards in hand and a full board. Luffy making sure to avoid that kind of ultimatum.
Yeah. Is that... No. You can't. Yeah. Because the Hancock can only stun a character that's not Monkey D. Luffy, and that 7-cost Luffy being... despite his looks, Luffy...
being Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah, Luffy being Luffy is not able to be a target of that 7-cost Boa Hancock, instead choosing to make the Mr. 5, which is honestly still not a bad target since it's a blocker as well. Will be very hard to...
Wow. That's such an interesting interaction. It finally came up. I've always known that was the case, but it has never come up. I've never seen it come up until this point in time.
I've never seen it come up with this specific Hancock, but it has come up before with the blue 6-cost Hancock in term when it comes to blue-purple Luffy, because the 9-cost Luffy was the card that you wanted to stun, but you just couldn't because it was named Luffy. So Luffy is just going to keep pelting the opponent with these 7,000 power attacks, which would usually be oppressive. He does see another trigger to just keep dumping cards into trash. But the thing is, he has not needed to expunge that many resources because he's built up his trash so quickly in this game. Yes, he's still at 1 life and he has only 7 cards in his hand, which is still relatively low. But now you're at the point where that 8-cost Crocodile can finally come down, so that Hancock, which is very menacing on paper, just will not be able to attack.
Still choosing to completely ignore the board.
Yeah, I think this is the correct
He
play.
looks so composed.
Yeah, I think that you just keep going leader. You stun the opponent's board with Crocodile. You maybe leave up 1 dong for the ground death. And then stun 2 of the opponent's characters, so that basically denies 2 attacks. The opponent goes for Navy Headquarters the next turn. Your leader's 7k. Still have, I believe, a decent amount of counter in your hand. Not too sure on exactly how much that is. And I think he's trying to set up to go for lethal, presumably in the next turn.
Interesting. I really hope Crocodile can pull this off, but the odds are stacked against him in every conceivable way right now.
Yeah, unfortunately doesn't get the draw either because that Hancock is 7 cost and not 8 cost or higher. So it doesn't get the draw on the first activation, but with this leader effect, dropping 2 more cards in the trash to re-summon that Crocodile is going to be able to get the 1 extra draw. Does have to trash 1 card in doing so, though. Gets rid of one of the counterless cards. Okay.
Here we see Buggy and Hancock being stunned optimally, meaning that the prisoners of Impel Down will need to choose between being a blocker and a swinger. Interesting.
Oh, and there's the patchwork as well. That's going to deny 1 more hit. Now, if the opponent does end up using Navy Headquarters, he still will be able to attack with that Crocodile by making it active, but importantly, does not become active at the start of this refresh phase. Meaning that, if he doesn't use Navy Headquarters to restand it, that's just not a blocker either on the next turn.
Wow. Despite everything, Crocodile might just pull this off.
Did he not have the option to stun the Prisoner of Impel Down instead? I feel like that may have been the better option, considering that Ground Death only reaches a 5 cost or less, but I wasn't paying too much attention on that.
That's a very good point, actually.
I think if he had the ability to stun the Prisoner, I feel like that would have made more sense, since that Buggy effect is still going to be usable, even if it is stunned by the Cuss Crocodile. But now, Navy Headquarters looks extremely unappetizing, even though it's already set up. So, we'll see what Luffy tries to go for on this turn. Oh, you can use Ground Death on Buggy. That's true. That is true, that's true. Yeah, no, that's completely right. I completely messed up the effect on Prisoner. Even if you were to Ground Death the Prisoner by reducing its cost or something, you wouldn't be able to get rid of its blocker because it's a given effect by the Buggy. Still, though, there's going to be the second Boa Hancock that's going to deny the Crocodile from going for an attack on this next turn. Still not able to target that Luffy, but does get rid of the other big character on the board.
This is going to be close. Neither player can push through the other one's basic disruption, which is stopping them from being able to just swing, even though they have fully established boards, or at least strong boards on the case of the Crocodile. It's going to be very interesting to see which one can actually find room to attack in this big, massive maelstrom of disruption.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, Crocodile still likely doesn't have lethal on the board. It's hard to tell with the hands being so far away and so small on the screen. That's a very large hand from Luffy right now, with still 1 life at his disposal, even though he does technically have 3 attacks in total with his leader, as well as the 2 characters that are not stunned by Hancock, and doesn't have another Crocodile in hand. So we'll need to see if he decides to try to pull the trigger next turn, or if he finds potentially a top deck that might be able to help him survive 1 more turn. It's looking a little bit rough, though. We'll have to see, though. He ended up trying to go for lethal because... Yeah, this Luffy has so many cards which are very powerful aggressively. Obviously, you have things like the Navy Headquarters, but you also have things like All Out as well that can stun the opponent's characters, which, importantly, on the opponent's turn, are 3k counter. So, going to pass the turn with 1 don't open. There it is. He's just going to go for lethal. Ground Death on the Buggy, so that means the Prisoner of Impel Down is not going to become a blocker, as chat graciously reminded me of. Thank you very much, guys. Which means he has to go for lethal right now. Here's the first 9k at leader. Yeah. And Luffy, he needs to defend 2 of these attacks. Or he needs to defend, 2 of these attacks. 1 of them can be absorbed with his leader. But his hand, looking at it closer, it's a lot of 1ks and a lot of counter events, which he didn't leave up enough dong for.
Come on, Crocodile.
This might have been a throw.
No, unfortunately, it's pretty much guaranteed. The Crocodile cannot swing. And after this one, there is a maximum of a 9k swing coming in, which we see now from leader, of which he has.
And
He does not have.
oh yeah, no. Unfortunately, 11k in the end.
No,
Does make it
exactly.
as close as possible. Does end up finding that one cost Luffy in his hand, but unfortunately, yeah. Tried to go for lethal, the snap decision. Forgot didn't have that crocodile attack at its disposal either because of that Hancock the turn before. And now the turn that Luffy's been building up since the beginning. No matter what way, this basically is going to be GG for Luffy. But great showing from Crocodile nonetheless.
I am very proud of our crocodile boy. He gave it everything he had, came down just a little short in counter. It was such an incredible showing. He played it in a way that I couldn't even follow, showing his mastery with the deck on so many levels. But with access to Navy headquarters, despite everything, there is just no way. And the game goes to Luffy.
Yeah, we talked about very early on that this is probably the single opening that Crocodile had to go for lethal, but that second 7-cost Hancock was really the nail in the coffin there, not letting that last attack go through. If that was able to attack, if it was basically anything else, um, then he might have been able to find an angle back in. But yeah, the ground death on the buggy in the end, which we were afraid because he dropped so many in the early game, was his one chance to win that game. And unfortunately, just barely not enough.
It is very unfortunate, but Goofy having access to Hancock, having access to Galdino, just has so many ways of causing one of your larger bodies just to not be able to swing in those crucial turns, and it can just cause so many issues, so much heartbreak. My heart goes out to the crocodile. Well played, honorable, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, I mean, he still made top 4, and this is not his first time in the top cut, so very, very good player. But unfortunate that he ended up not making it to the finals, and at least we know that one of the finals is going to be Green-Blue Luffy.
Interesting to see if it's going to be Enel or if it's going to be Nami on the other side. Either way, it's going to basically be Goofy having the most free matchup of his life, or he's going to have to fight with everything he has to stay alive.
Yeah, basically, the Nami versus Enel matchup, generally speaking, is more favored for the Nami player, but Enel players have found ways to get over that. I do think one important thing, and you'll be able to test this, or you'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong, is that especially in this meta, because there's so many more decks that you have to account for, it's very hard to add in specific tech cards that are good within those matchups. Or like specifically into Blue Yell Nami. So I wouldn't be surprised if that matchup has become a little bit harder.
Absolutely. Between Galdino and Zeus, those are basically the only tech cards that Nami is running that can really deal with Enel at this point in time. And Enel, especially in Japan, is really cutting wholly at this point in time, moving towards builds with more Senor Pink and Gum Gum Lightning. So it'll be very interesting to see if it moves closer to more of a 50-50 matchup, or if it's still going to be really in favor of Nami.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how this last matchup's going to go, because if it goes at least the way that people would most likely expect it to go, where Nami ends up winning, then it'll be Luffy versus Nami, which lots of discussion on whether this is winning for Nami or winning for Luffy. How do you feel this matchup goes if we do end up getting
I
it?
feel, I feel at high level play that this
Oh,
is a
hold on.
matchup that,
Sorry, I see something that's talking about OP17 on the screen. This. Oh, that's not today. Okay,
it's the
so,
premiere.
but this is, yeah, this is the announcement of the announcement, guys. 1 week from now, we'll get reveals, which means same time next week, guys. Make sure to be back, and I'll translate it as soon as it comes on screen. So that's one of the benefits that we have. The second that we see a new leader, which seems to be coming next week, I will translate it first and foremost, and hope that it's good. Sorry to cut you off there, but I am actually curious, since we have been talking about OP17, just fundamentally, which of the leaders excites you the most between the ones that we've seen? I believe it was Newgate, Kaido, Lin, Shanks, and Black Luffy.
So basically, between Newgate and Black Luffy, we have seen some relatively mediocre leader effects. which makes me wonder if they're going to lean more into strong generic cards instead, or even strong specialized cards. In terms of Kaido and Linlin, they have access to legacy support, such as 10 cost Big Mom and 3 cost Onigashima, which I think will actually shake up the extra regulation format a lot more than people are expecting. These decks having access to different tools that their standard counterparts won't could really make it so that the extra regulation starts to form into its own meta. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if Kaido and Linlin have leader effects which play very strongly with those older cards rather than their new support.
Yeah, I was thinking about like what kinds of effects would fit those leaders. Kaido.
Soul Pocus for Linlin, maybe having an effect where your opponent needs to choose between two effects, or with
Mm,
Kaido being able to ramp it on. So I think that could also be an interesting angle, kind of paying homage to the original 4 Yonko with like those effects.
mm.
But that
Oh,
being
yep.
said, Green Shanks doesn't really tie into that as well. So that's just a thought.
Well, the thing I was thinking, like, I thought Green Shanks was weird, but if you think about Green fundamentally, it's like stunning characters and resting characters, and that fits very well with his theme of just being the Conqueror's Haki guy, you know? So I wouldn't expect if his leader effect would like stun a character or rest a character, you know? So like I think at least in terms of color combinations, it would make a lot of sense. But Bonnie kind of already fits
That
that role,
is
so we'll
true.
see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. Shanks originally, believe that his original leader effect was meant to be kind of like his observation hockey.
Mm,
We see that he can basically minus 1,000 power, like slightly redirect. So it would be interesting to see if it is more something based on Conqueror's hockey, maybe being able to interact with like weaker units or something. But Green isn't really known for power reduction, so it would be really interesting to see.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that like the safest route is to just be like activate main rest something, um, and like rest a card or something. Like maybe you could have like a Mihawk esque effect where it's like rest a card, or like restadong. I don't know. There's like lots of ways
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
can take that would thematically make sense for Shanks.
Bow
Um,
before the king.
yeah, but it's Bandai, so they're gonna make Luffy completely broken. So, eh.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already seen
Mm,
the effect has the potential to be crazy, but it's really going to depend on like if we're going to see a lot of characters that buff their cost, like Jack was before, or if there's going to be something like a stage maybe that buffs the cost, or basically it just depends on how conditional the being at 12 cost is to the Luffy game plan.
mm. Yeah, and actually, I do have to agree with Dr. Pancake. I didn't want to like jump in while you were saying it, but I do think that the minus 1k is also a Conqueror thing.
Oh,
Um, yeah, like if you remember when he saved Luffy in the beginning, he did the eye at the camera like Usero. Um, that's basically him giving minus 1k to the sea beast.
that's so true. Every time I think of Chase, I just think of the one scene with Eustace Kid. I won't spoil just in case, because I know a lot of people are just coming into One Piece,
Mm,
but it always reminds me of that scene and how observation haki kind of changed the flow of that.
yeah, I mean that was just a really cool scene. Yeah, well, it
Oh,
seems like we are going
absolutely.
to be getting into the final game. I forgot to do it last
It's
time,
an
but
L.
it is going to be NL who made it out over Blue Yellow Nami in the semifinals in a game that we were never privy to see against what should theoretically be a
Good.
much easier matchup for him in Green Blue Luffy. Are we going to see the three-peat of NL in Japan, or is Green Blue Luffy finally going to take it home? Chat, type 1 for NL winning, type 2 for Green Blue Luffy winning. Which of these two nightmares do you prefer to watch win today? Final game of
As
the day,
someone
though.
who has played nothing but an L since it released in Japan, my vote is going to Luffy right now. An L, you have flown too close to the sun. It is time.
I see you typing in chat too.
Hey, I
uh,
I am a valid member of this
skew
chat.
the vote here. Yeah, uh, yeah, I think. NL is expected to win, but looking at chat, it does seem like the people's hope are for Luffy to end up winning this game.
Luffy
So this is
winning the
going to
die
be,
roll.
yeah, the final game. Luffy is going to be able to take first in this matchup against NL. And I think you're the NL expert here, so I'll let you take over the thought process that goes into this deck because it's very, very complex, and I'll be the funny man that says Luffy rescinded Tudong for his leader effect.
Leave it to me. Anel will definitely be keeping this hand, seeing access to the 6-drop on curve, as well as 2 weenies, including the most powerful being Ohm. While it looks like Goofy unfortunately didn't see exactly what he needed. From this hand alone, yeah, Anel could not have asked for a better hand, having the Shura to chase one of either the 1-cost Luffys or the 2-cost weenies from the Goofy, while having Ohm to help with Mamaragon with Buggy, and having access to the 6-drop Enel on curve, which in a fast-paced matchup is the only turn where you want to see it. This is going to be a really scary game for Goofy. He may have even mulliganed a good hand, hoping for a great one. Good
Yeah,
luck, Goofy. You're really going to need it.
yeah. Well, let's see. And yes, in Japan, the official rules dictate that you do rock paper scissors, choose who goes first and second, which is terrible. But rock paper scissors is a Japanese game, so you have to. Or I mean, it's an Asian game, so yeah, I guess it's just a cultural thing. People have been doing rock paper scissors for a very long time. So even when everything is on the line in the finals, still going to be a difference between rock or paper or scissors. Yeah, Enel ended up
Alrighty, it
beating
looks
Nami in
like
the semifinals. This is if he finds something on his second turn or from that one draw from the Mr. 2, I think he can stabilize this, but it's a bit of an awkward starting hand from Green Blue Luffy.
Bentham needs to put in a lot of work here, seeing either one of the 1-cost Luffys or another 2-cost, or there is a lot of trouble for Goofy here. What a hand. That's disgusting.
Yeah,
That is just disgusting.
yeah. Interestingly, also runs this the 2K Sanji, which people have been cutting out in OP16. So does have that extra line of defense as well.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if he's been playing Holy, and that would also explain why he had such a favorable matchup into Nami, being able to clutch that out at such a high level, being able to defend the dog from an attack that would otherwise be really, really hard for an L to defend. And an L Thor as well. Oh no, being able to completely invalidate one of the Goofy weenies before they even come out. And the Satori! Being able to keep the Shura in hand to chase something rather than having to devote like a leader swing or a buffed up weenie swing. This is terrible.
Hey, no, it's okay. There's still hope yet. Goofy does play down the character, uses leader effect, attaches one Dong, does have that 2 Dong active to potentially put down that Jinbei, and does seem like that's probably going to be the play. You also need to remember that Jinbei, one the Dong attached, is going to gain 2,000 power on both you and the opponent's turn, meaning that it would be out of that Elthor range. But just most importantly, Luffy right now just trying desperately to line up his board as best as possible.
My counter argument to this is double Mamaragon. And a second Shura has hit the field. This means that it can play the Shura, establish board, and still have it in hand as a tool. This Enel has done the highest roll of his entire career right now when it matters, and this is looking dire even now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the final game of the day. You've played 9 games of Swiss into this is your 4th round of Top Cut, best of 1. You cannot lose a single round once you get to this point. So, happy to take what he can. Has fought really hard to get to this point, and is just going to keep mounting the pressure as best as he can. 6K with Satori, 6K with leader.
Okay, seeing a slow and steady start from Enel, he has everything he needs. He can just respond in kind while playing his 6-drop Enels, having access to every tool that costs 0 that he can imagine, while also just having the cards that play perfectly with it. This is terrible. And by that I mean Enel, it's a hot deck. He can still misplay it.
Ooh,
There's a chance.
do you not have the buggy? Ends up playing out the Crocodile to replay the Bonkley, which is going to draw him 1 card and restand the card, but unfortunately didn't find the Buggy combo, which I think he really would have wanted.
Okay. Yeah, the buggy combo probably would have been better there, but you take what you can. Having access to the Boa and Galdino is good, especially versus a hand that has two big Anels in it. That card will
Mhm.
not be swinging for a while, but just the general toolbox that Anel has right now is just overwhelming. I don't even know
Yeah.
what you would grab with your Anel right here. Maybe a Gamma Knife to deal with an upcoming Boa Hancock. But other than that, I think you have everything that you need.
Doesn't see the Gamma Knife, but thinking about the Reiju, I don't think that. I don't know. I was thinking about the relevance of Lightning Dragon in this matchup, but I don't think that it actually comes up all too often unless that Crocodile ends up being rested randomly.
Yeah, especially missing the buggy. It loses where it would otherwise shine.
Right.
But grabbing the Reiju here basically is the other half of that Gamma Knife combo, the Reiju into Gamma Ragen combo. Hashtag an L
Yeah.
guide. Is going to be really strong here, assuming he can see that Gamma Knife in the next couple of cards.
Yeah. And then just goes for the Kiten when you get
Goodbye,
the
Crocodile.
+1. Yep.
And he saw the Gamma Knife. It was right there. Oh no. Oh no. It's just all going terribly right for the Anel player right now. Seeing the blocker Anel as well, not having to cycle the cards out of his already perfect hand.
But it's not over yet. The Luffy has a big board, you know? You have the NL, sure he has everything that he needs, but if Luffy just builds up a big board and NL doesn't draw any more counter for the rest of the game, then I think that it's doable.
That is true. There is a chance that
Yeah.
the what are we saying here? The next turn is going to cycle through and choose what he wants from his next 5 cards, but
Oh no, it's
who
it's gonna
knows?
all be different versions of Six Gus NL. Whether it's going to be the blocker one or the searcher one, it's just gonna be Six Gus NL galore, and he's not gonna find any counter for the rest of the game.
And there's another L4.
Yeah, does go for the double Mamoragan, is just trying to close any option that Green Blue Luffy has, just not letting that character attack whatsoever. Getting rid of it before it has a chance to attack. Potentially even looking to get rid of this Crocodile as well. Do you think that in this match we're supposed to play this relatively slow, or do you have to kind of speed up the game pace?
So this is a game about board control. If
Mhm.
you can get to a situation where the opponent's little guys cannot stick and you can solely just attack life with whatever other swings you have left, then you are in a very good position. Especially a turn with Reiju into Gamma Knife clearing the Boa pretty much seals the deal if you're able to apply that constant pressure to board and life, which the Enel is doing perfectly here. We will also most likely see here the L4 KOing the Bentham and allowing for a 7k attack at leader, which is just attacking on 2 fronts. Insanely strong.
Indeed, no, this is. I'm trying to find an out for Luffy right now, but this is a really rough situation right now. Very slow start for Luffy and just an explosive start for Enel in what's already a fairly bad matchup.
Interesting. Instead, he's choosing to play the pudding. I wonder what he's digging for. Zuriality, why is he not using Elthors? He is saving them for later. Uh, as for why he's choosing to save them for later, I'm not entirely sure.
So
Vari
what
is good here.
yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is that right now you just don't need to. Like that card doesn't just have the effect to KO one of the opponent's characters. So just by if you don't necessarily need the Bonkley dead right now, then I feel like you could just hold on to your hand because I mean you're in an advantageous situation. You don't need to sort of overextend your welcome, I would imagine. So I mean, I don't think it hurts to use it because he's so far ahead at this point. But there is going to be the first 7-cost Hancock to lock the opponent's 6-cost NL. Now, to be fair, NL's board was very, very wide, but if you look at it, they're all 2,000 power characters, and this Jinbe, finally with 1 zone attached, is actually going to be 4,000 power on the opponent's turn, so it is actually out of that Elthor range, which is small thing, but, you know, it's the small things that count.
Yeah. What will annoy me is if the Elthor is used as counter here to block out of this Bonclay's attack instead of being used. Okay, fair.
Yeah,
To
that would be
KO the
that would be
Bonclay the
weird.
turn before.
Yeah, no, it does end up using the body. Not going to be very relevant in this matchup, just for the plus 2k. It does seem like Luffy, though, not really focusing on board control, is just trying to get that damage on the leader. Satori going to keep cycling. Another one of those things, just making sure that NL has as much consistency as possible. Does play down the second 6-cost NL.
So despite Jinbei being a 4-cost, a swing from leader will more than easily deal with it. And we see the Kiten here. So hold on, let me gather my thoughts real quick. So the Enel will grab either the Ohm or the Kiten here to combo with Gamma Knife and the Elthor to KO the Boa. Because he hasn't used his leader effect yet, he rampant active Don, meaning Ohm is a really valid and strong target, replacing the pudding on board.
Yeah, and there's the 5k into the Jinbei. Luffy needs to really think about it. Did grab a 2k for a second there in his hand, is thinking about what he wants to do. But, I mean, it doesn't actually end up mattering all too much because once he uses his leader effect to attack with one of those characters again, that's going to be minimum 6k at the opponent's leader, so that's still going to be asking for a 2k counter. Besides, there isn't really a reason to hold on to this Jinbei. It does let it go, so Hancock is going to be the only character that's left on the board.
Smart move by the Goofy, playing around the Lightning Dragon, which is the big punish there, as he would then need to give 4k total counter if the Enel instead pivoted into life after defending the Jinbei and then froze the Jinbei instead.
Yeah, and setting up this Ohm is actually a very good setup for next turn because this Hancock right now 9,000 power, but with the Reiju and Gamma Knife as well as Elthor in hand, he will be able to take that card out relatively easily next turn with the minus 1k from Ohm.
Relatively easily is an understatement. That Boa is gone. But we do see here that if that second Boa is used, which I believe is in the hand. No, that's an Iva, just with a similar color scheme. Whoops. Okay, never mind. Disregard that. There will be NNL swinging next turn, which starts to put Goofy on the clock. His life is going to start vanishing very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, did that Reiju, just such a good card. 4-cost 7,000 power blocker within this deck, essentially. Just comboed with the power reduction that he has access to, just makes this deck feel so unfair. Completely antithetical to the way that I believe that Purple NL was designed in the beginning, but just gives this deck so much power. But I think this is the way that you have to play this as Goofy. If you try to play one card per turn like that Boa Hancock, then as we're going to see next turn, the Gamma Knife Ohm into Elthor combo is going to be able to very easily take out the Hancock. So by spreading out your board like this, either the opponent needs to have multiple Elthors, which unfortunately he does. I believe he had one more in his hand. Yep.
He does indeed.
Or you have a couple of attacks coming the next turn. So trying to find the angle, similar to the way that the Nami player, I believe it was trying to find an angle before, but right now NL just has all of the answers.
Yeah, it is looking very bad for Goofy. This was the highest roll possible by NL, and the player is playing very well. They have made no mistakes so far. This is just generally a slaughter. Next time we'll see the Rager into the Gamma Knife, into the Ohm, into the Elthor, and maybe even the Lightning Dragon being used to cycle or freeze something. It is just so incredibly rough right now for the Goofy. They need a miracle. It's not impossible, but they need a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Goofy just an aggro deck that constantly is redrawing cards. Still relatively healthy, 3 life, as well as I believe will be going up to 7 cards in hand after this search. Also, you know, things like
Exactly.
the Mr. 3, sorry, Galdino in hand that will be able to stall even more time should he choose to later on. Thinking about picking up the second
Especially
one.
when
Yeah.
especially when comboed with Boa, being able to establish a large body while stopping 2 swings and going card neutral in hand every turn is just really strong. Those Boas even being able to get around both Blocker NL and Reiju.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's any deck in Japan that's ever three-peated. I know that there are decks that have won 3 times, Blue, Black, Rebecca being one of them, Red, Newgate being another one. But there's been so many championships, I don't know if there's any deck that's ever three-peated. And if NL wins this game, then in Japan, this will be 3 times in a row that NL's managed to win the OP16 championship. So people getting really, really tired of this deck, but I mean, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, NL probably needs a little bit of readjustment, and there are a very select amount of cards which are seen. Oh my god, seeing a Gamma Knife plus Elthor combo on top of his deck, as well as having access to the Keyten and the Lightning Dragon, can add them both to his hand during this turn, being able to clear another Boa for essentially free next turn. And of course, keeping them on top for that reason.
Yeah, RP Law may have three-peat. I don't remember. I know that in the entire OP08 meta, Black Lucci and RP Law were the only decks that won, but I don't know if it was RP Law that won 3 times in a row. But that would be one of the decks that would be able to do it. Still, I mean, it's looking really good for NL right now. Did he end up putting the cards on top of his deck or the bottom? I missed that.
He did. So basically, what that allows is because he has the Keyten in hand, he can use Gamma Knife plus Ohm plus Elthor this turn, and then in the following turn, use Gamma Knife plus Elthor plus the Keyten in hand, allowing him to clear the second Boa when it comes out, invalidating the only hope of Goofy for victory in this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just mentioned using Gamma Knife on this turn, but he did put out the 6-cost NL. How do you feel about that play compared to the Reiju Gamma Knife play?
That is very interesting. The only thing I could see happening here is that the NL player is instead going to focus on clearing the Boa with the big swing from NL, and then poking down, trying to reduce the hand size of the Luffy before trying to commit huge to the life. Basically playing the value game, and then potentially using multiple Elthor to clear the weenies from that board. Personally, that's not how I would have played it. I think having access to that extra Gamma Knife and that extra Elthor allows you to clear both the Boas in rapid succession, which I think would completely invalidate the standard line of play you're going to see from the Goofy. But I don't think there's anything wrong with also just playing by the book what is the best value as well. Both completely valid.
Yeah, this is one of the difficult things about NL. Yeah, I mean, Luffy only one bow on the board right now, but does just have, I mean, 5 characters of differing names, all with that impel down type, so it has to be fearful of it. Does finally use that Elthor, which now feels a little bit weird, considering that the Bonclay was able to get in a hit before. Um, if he was going to use it, he might as well have used it a little bit earlier on. But nonetheless, decides to use it now, probably potentially deciding to hold onto it for the turn that he's afraid of the Navy headquarters coming out, but fortunately, he doesn't know. Luffy doesn't have it in his hand right now.
Alrighty, so we're also seeing an 11k into the 6k Boa. This basically means you don't need the Gamma Knife, but choosing to pitch both the Gamma Knives, one off choosing not to draw it with the Enel effect, and one from the Enel effect, is really interesting. I guess they feel they're in a position where the opponent is not going to use another Boa in the next turn.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this 11k does end up letting it go, but it's not as guaranteed as some other plays may have been. He does have a decent amount of counters in if he decides that he really needs to go for lethal on this next turn, but deciding that it's not worth fighting the battle to keep Boa on the board does let her go for relatively cheap, and that's going to be the second Elthor from NL to get rid of that extra attack, just making that Navy headquarters, presumably that would potentially be in his hand, as far away as possible.
And yeah, overall, not a bad turn. Um, Personally, I think the difference there is between what is purely the
Oh,
single
12,
most
okay.
value. Whoop.
hmm
Yeah, so what I think is purely the single most value out of a turn you can squeeze, and what will put the most pressure on your opponent to have a specific answer. And while there isn't a wrong answer in that regarding which one you choose, I feel like this line in general leaves you open to being swarmed like really hard right now, which I think the Goofy is going to capitalize on especially if he has the double Galdino plus the full board refill, is going to be very scary.
Yeah, it does finally manage to find that 5 cost buggy. Whenever I play against this deck, they always have it on curve, but it comes out very, very late. Does find it nonetheless, is going to be the target of his search. And see what he ends up going for on this turn. He needs to make sure, first of all, that he doesn't die, which he should be able to survive on this turn, especially because he has that Galdino, of course. And also needs to make sure that he sets up for lethal in the next coming turn. But unfortunately, his board right now, not very high in power.
Yeah, basically the win condition for the Luffy here is getting multiple of Bentham or Mr. 1-2 stick to the board. The awkward thing being that Mr. 1 would lose its effect around this point in the game with Luffy going so far down in hand size. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a doomed if you do, doomed if you don't situation now.
Yeah. That 6 cost Brook, though, might be one possible way to try to close out the game later on if you manage to survive that long. But yeah, just going to spread out that buggy combo, attach 2 more going to leader, and put the opponent down to 1 life. So hoping desperately that he can survive on this next turn and try to close out the game within the following turn, but is running out of fuel very quickly.
Getting a little concerned, Kai. The NL player is down to 6 cards in hands and 1 life from a seemingly unlosable situation. They seem to have played the game in, like I said, the most value possible. But let's see if that pays off for them. They're in a very awkward spot. They do guarantee the clear of 2 things. But with a blocker that can be hit by Brook, there is a minimum of 4 swings coming in next turn to this NL.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to math out this scenario because Luffy needs these characters to actually go for lethal. Um, and NL it still has one Thor in hand, still has the Mamaraga in hand, can definitely take out the board if he chooses to. But I mean, sometimes you have to remember that even if you're playing for as high value as possible, one of the most important resources is time. And by giving Luffy a lot of time, he's been able to restabilize this game multiple times. And now has an angle, but we have to see if it's enough. It's still looking pretty rough from my perspective, though.
I'm actually not that sure. Having access to the Brook, being able to restand the Luffy, I believe Brook is limited to Straw Hats, meaning that for 6 Dawn, Goofy can essentially attack for 9k twice alongside the leader effect and the 2 prisoners, meaning that Anel needs to have at least, what, 10k counter in hand, which he doesn't have.
Mhm. Yeah, and actually, Brook's even better than you think it is because your leader needs to be Straw Hat, but the card that you restand just needs to be 8 cost or less. So he doesn't need to restand that Luffy necessarily. He can restand one of those
We
other
are in
characters.
danger. There is a lot of danger right now. If the Goofy does not rest this, oh wait, no, he even chose to rest prisoners. Whoa.
Uses the
Hold
Mamaragang,
on.
stuns the prisoner with the Lightning Dragon, I believe. Use the Mamaragang? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Which means
So
Althor can kill one of the baby Luffys, which means Goofy might have this.
it's definitely a possibility now. Because if he uses the L Thor, I mean, on paper, it seems like a good way to just get rid of an attack, but remember that is also a 2k counter. So that it's just losing more defensive tools that NL somehow, some way, back against the wall now with this massive board, 6 cost, 10,000 power characters, but only 1 life and 5 cards to his name.
Oh no. Well, I'm not sure if I should be happy or sad. Somehow the Goofy, through a combat, has, what do I even say here? They have successfully read or at least had an understanding that the Enel player is going to focus on board far too much while not bringing the Goofy down. And this has led to an unforeseen opportunity for Goofy to make a comeback here. Wow.
Well, we'll see. Does decide to go for the prisoner, but as that card is already stunned by Lightning Dragon, no reason for Luffy to actually protect that. Just lets it go immediately with that 6,000 power pudding swing. Again, going for the board. But at this point, I mean, all that does is just make the Navy headquarters a little bit more awkward to use.
We don't need we don't need a headquarters. We have a brook. Just
It's
like the sorry.
no. I was just going to compound the 6-cost Brook. Just a really, really good card in this deck sometimes as a Hail Mary. Because a lot of times Navy Headquarters could be a win more card, which you've seen some really high level players like Hervoy who only run the card at 2 copies or something. And that Brook can be a surprise tool to find lethal restand character even if you haven't set up your entire board. And perhaps NL isn't taking that into account right now, just thinking about the Navy Headquarters.
If the Luffy is able to successfully bait the Enel into not blocking the first few swings with Reiju,
He's
there
taking them
is
so
a
fast.
this is it. He's going for it. He knows what he needs to do.
It's his destiny.
Wow.
Here it is. And that Brook on play also
Devoted
going to be able to
Bazinga.
rest any card. So invalidating the blocker.
Straight
Suddenly
away.
NL realizing, looking at his hand, wait, do I actually have
Oh
this?
no.
The 5k from Yonkofu. 1k
5K.
is, I believe, 5k.
5K.
One more 1k. 5k is just spreading out his hand, trying to get the opponent to use their 2k counters.
He's got it.
NL does have
5K.
it. Oh.
No, it's
NL
definitely
would need to
5K.
use. Yeah.
Get out here, Judge. What a comeback. This is the most crazy comeback I've ever seen. 7-7. No, even better, 7-9. Wait.
Oh no, he still has leader effect. Okay, never mind. It's cooked. There it is.
He could do all 3.
Green Blue Luffy against all odds with a slow start against an NL with the perfect high roll, shows the value of time and ends up winning, breaking the 3-peat streak that NL has had in the Japan Championship Series in OP16. Barely in the end.
Absolutely crazy. Targeting not only the deck with Enel, but the player as well, being able to capitalize off the playstyle, off the Enel to pull out a crazy victory using the power of that Brook and the hesitation of the Enel to establish early blockers to just completely invalidate the Enel strategy of slowly starving and attacking board.
Yeah. I think Jacob is perfectly right here. I think the third 6-cost there is what ended up losing him the tempo advantage that he had. He was so far ahead up until that point, but he decided to play down the 6-cost NL just to keep searching through his deck for what card. And in the end, he just didn't find. Yeah, he just didn't find the cards that he needed to close out the game, and those were exactly what ended up undoing him. If he had just played the more sort of simple logical play that was already presented to him within his hand, he may have been able to pull out the win. But takes the game a little bit too slow. Goofy being able to reestablish board despite the fact that NL time and time again was able to eradicate his board entirely to, unfortunately for the NL player, but fortunately for Goofy, result in a win.
Yeah, and absolutely amazing showing by the Goofy, finding a win condition in an otherwise unwinnable place. The Enel sticking to his style. I really respect it. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off for him this time. Just not being able to see enough of, because he unfortunately threw all the stuff he needed in the trash. But it is what it is, and I'm sure the NL player was feeling the pressure, despite how favored the matchup feels. It is still stressful. If you don't see what you need, a headquarters can just completely change the game. Boring Galdino, if played enough times, can completely change the game. It's just crazy. Wow, what a game.
Yeah, and I mean, chat's explaining to me now that this is actually an NL psyop so that nothing gets banned from NL, because, I mean, 3-peat would most likely result in something happening to Mamara going in a back alley. So,
oh,
yeah, no, I think
that's
that
why
was
he
probably
pitched
the
the
line of
gamma
play.
knives.
So no,
so
look,
gamma
it's
knife
not a
wouldn't get
control deck.
banned. look, I don't even need these.
see, look, this is how Bandai intended me to play the game. Just get rid of all the
Exactly.
tech cards and playing down the blocker on the turn that it was about to get rested. So in the end, still gets second place. So congratulations to him, but does not get the coveted win that he was looking for on the day.
Yeah, still well played to everyone here. There are so many levels of mind games that people don't even understand. Like that was a goofy win condition through reading the player as much as it was the deck. And to be able to do that at such a high level with such stakes is just an incredible showing from both players.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, that is going to be the last of this. Unfortunately, I did realize they talked about OP17 reveals, and that's actually going to be on the 11th, which is Saturday, but the next championship is on Sunday, the 12th. So thank you very much, people, for tuning into this stream. I will be here once again next week, and hopefully you'll have a couple of videos before then, but right now I'm working on a teach guide, which should be out in the next couple of days. I hope.
Very
Deva's helping me
exciting.
write with that. So if he stops playing Pokopia and actually helps me edit it, then it'll be out sooner.
I make no
But
promises.
yeah. But still, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I'll be here a little bit more consistently. Maybe you'll see me sometime during the week as well. Just, casual games or um, maybe even like a studio building stream. Who knows? But regardless, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the stream. Lots of people I saw. We hit 1,000 briefly at some point. Don't like to look at numbers very much, but appreciate you guys very much. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I guess I'll see you guys next week. Because if you're scheduled cooked enough to watch until this point, then maybe you'll be cooked enough to watch at this point next week as well. Any last thoughts? Oh, also,
Alrighty.
subscribe to Deva if you haven't already, because he's a chill guy, good commentator, good knowledge on the game as well. So check his stuff
Wow,
out.
thank you, thank you.
Yep.
That wasn't what I was going to say, but I do very much appreciate it. I was going to say thank you everyone for coming in to watch today. It was a real pleasure. This is my first time doing somewhat semi professional commentating. It was a real blast. Everyone was really nice and respectful, and it was a great time. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Well, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next stream, whenever that may be. The video depends on whenever I finish writing, but that should be done very soon. And then you'll start to see a lot more videos in this new journey in my life, now finally being back in Tokyo and being full-time. Look, I got don cushions as well, so I'm serious about this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the stream today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.